The battlefield erupted as flames and debris scattered. Han Daesung launched his first explosive spell, shocking his enemies. Lightning blades swirled from Han Daesung's hands. Surrounded, he twisted midair, casting a high-speed, multi-target strike. One warrior lunged, but Han Daesung sidestepped effortlessly. He spun, countering with a backslash that cracked armor. Black text surged across his vision. "How dare you stand up to the grand drops of destruction?" A monstrous foe charged. Han Daesung exhaled, shifted stance, then cleaved the ground open with godlike force. The brute mocked Han Daesung, demanding he retreat. "Open the gate and flee, or die here!" Han Daesung responded with silence, drawing power into his blade. Light surged as his stance tightened sharply. The enemy roared, stomping the ground. Han Daesung was flung back, sliding across stone from the impact. Landing hard, Han Daesung steadied himself. A trail of smoke marked his path across the fractured battlefield. The brute bellowed, "You're the one who's going to die!" As Han Daesung rose, unshaken and ready. Han Daesung lunged forward, sword crackling. Dust exploded beneath his feet as he closed distance with precision. He twisted midair, eyes focused, blade humming as it prepared to meet the brute's massive frame. Their weapons clashed violently. Han Daesung's strike forced the brute back, sparks flying from their overwhelming collision. Using the recoil, Han Daesung flipped away, distancing himself quickly to avoid counterattack while analyzing the opponent's stance. He skidded to a halt. Behind him, the brute dropped, wounded and stunned by Han Daesung's sudden burst. A burst of magical light ignited the air. Han Daesung stood calm, sword glowing with charged energy. "Should have ended it earlier," he muttered, gaze cold. His blade pulsed as flames circled around him. The demon roared back, voice shaking the ground. "How dare you challenge a servant of Demon God?" "You'll regret this. The Demon God will know," the brute screamed, veins bulging, power rising with fury. Suddenly, Han Daesung's blade pierced through. The demon flinched, stunned, eyes widening as pain burst through his chest. Electric sparks hissed from the demon's chest. Han Daesung's sword was still embedded, crackling with sealed energy. Han Daesung exhaled through his nose, expression unchanged. He watched calmly as his opponent writhed in visible pain. A fiery companion hovered beside him. Han Daesung crouched, asking casually, "So loud, is he done now?" The demon stammered, eyes wide. This is impossible!" His body trembled as power drained from his core. With one final thud, the demon collapsed. Flames scattered behind Han Daesung as silence reclaimed the battlefield. The spirit asked, "What now? The demon god won't ignore the death of his enforcer." Han Daesung replied calmly, "I know." He raised his hand slightly, showing no fear or hesitation in posture. "Trying to become an absolute being?" the spirit pressed. Han Daesung shook his head, uninterested in that path. "I've survived hell for 30 years, Han Daesung muttered. "Fighting monsters wasn't choice, it was the only way." "They had their reasons. I started wondering why me? Why did the demon god drag me here?" Han Daesung walked forward slowly. "That's all. I'm just going to ask the demon god why." The spirit blinked. "Ask politely? You should kneel and beg for mercy." Han Daesung ignored the suggestion. Step by step, Han Daesung moved forward. "No, he still has to pay for what he did. He made me suffer. I want answers, but first I'll make him feel what I endured." Lightning surged above. Han Daesung gripped his sword tighter, eyes firm. The path to revenge had begun. Han Daesung charged ahead with full strength. "Here I go!" he shouted, sword aimed straight at destiny. Suddenly, everything vanished. He opened his eyes to a bright ceiling, confused by the hospital equipment. He gasped, heart pounding. Cold sweat ran down as he sat upright on the hospital bed. "What is this?" he whispered, staring at the monitor. The beeping felt louder than any scream. Silence wrapped the room. Alone in white walls, Han Daesung realized he had returned to the real world. Han Daesung stared at the IV drip. "A hospital?" he muttered, unable to make sense of it. "It's been 30 years. Maybe more," he thought, eyes scanning the room filled with children and noise. Why a hospital? He wondered, lying flat. Of all places, why must it be this? He tried moving, but failed. I can't move. What a pity. Am I lucid dreaming again? Am I dreaming that I'm in a vegetative state? The thought settled like lead in his chest. A pill bottle clattered to the ground. Someone had dropped it just outside the hospital room. A woman stood frozen in the doorway, eyes wide, holding her breath. Ah, she whispered softly. Han Daesung's eyes shot open. He saw her face clearly. His heart raced without knowing why. My son, you're awake. She stepped closer, voice trembling. Han Daesung blinked, unsure if this moment was real. She hugged him tight. He frowned. So childish and cringy. I'd rather just wake up now. Oh, my sweet baby, she whispered gently. Han Daesung's eyes widened. Something about it hit too deep. He froze. Hang on. This has to be a dream. So why does it feel real? Why, he thought, tightening his grip. Confusion and warmth clashed inside him, blurring thought and sense. Everything turned white. Silence drowned all feeling. Then firelight flickered back into view. He'd returned to the battlefield. Han Daesung gasped for breath. Damn, I really thought it was something else, he muttered, exhausted, surrounded by flames. You monster! You really took down the demon god, the spirit said. Han Daesung only breathed heavily, recovering. Damn it! He promised answers, then attacked instead. I never even got to ask him why. The throne rumbled behind them, now empty. The demon god was gone. Silence replaced his power. Now that he's dead, you're the absolute being here, the spirit said. What will you do? Han Daesung's eyes widened. A golden screen appeared. Return to Earth? He stared at it, surprised and conflicted. What's that? The spirit asked. Han Daesung stared at the glowing prompt. A choice to return Earth? It's been 80 years since I fell down to hell, Han Daesung said, eyes locked on the option. I prayed every day to escape this place. Nothing mattered more than getting away from here. There's no hesitation, he thought, reaching forward. As long as I could leave this nightmare behind. His finger tapped, yes. Light swallowed him whole. Han Daesung stood tall, facing the end of his exile. Light faded from Han Daesung's eyes. He blinked slowly, waking to find unfamiliar voices calling his name. Mr. Han Daesung, can you hear me? A doctor asked, leaning in with a flashlight check. That was real, Han Daesung thought, still dazed. His mind struggled to separate memory from hallucination or dream. He'll recover with rehab, the doctor explained. Thank your love and dedication, he added, nodding toward his mother. Suddenly, Han Daesung screamed. A sharp pain surged through his body, his senses overwhelmed by reality's return. Han Daesung screamed wildly. Doctors and nurses rushed in. Sir, please calm down, one shouted in panic. Which one's the actual dream? Han Daesung's mind spiraled, trapped between memories of hell and this strange peace. The moment I saw that message, or now? His eyes darted, unsure what to believe anymore. A child whispered, Mom, is that man turning into a monster? Fear spread quickly in the room. Get away from me! Han Daesung yelled, and then bit into his hand, blood spilling as chaos began. Ah! Han Daesung shouted. A curse? Paralysis? Poison? What have you done to my body? No! This has to be a dream, some horrible nightmare! He screamed, panic and anger flooding in. He shoved the doctor aside violently. Do you know what kind of life I've lived? I fought for 30 years, he yelled. You think I'll die now? I'm not done. Even on cold stone floors in hell, I begged to survive, Han Daesung roared, voice cracking. No! I'm not dying like this! Han Daesung yelled, eyes wild, breath sharp with raw panic. I begged them to send me back, he thought, bolting forward, ignoring the pain in motion. Guards rushed in. They seized his arms as he struggled violently, cursing and threatening to kill. This body, this awful body! Why did I wake up like this? He screamed, fighting restraint. Suddenly he paused, his eyes widened in confusion. Something had shifted, but he couldn't tell what. A thunderous rumble shook the sky. Light spiraled in the clouds, forming an ominous golden ring. Han Daesung turned toward the window, eyes locked on the sky. What is that thing? Electric arcs danced around the floating light. A wormhole? Why is it appearing over the city? He froze. A voice echoed within his mind. Han Daesung has returned to Earth. The restrained man thrashed wildly, screaming threats, as the scientists pinned him down on the table. With crazed glare, Han Daesung roared louder, jerking violently before stabbing syringe into the doctor's neck. Blood sprayed as he shouted, "I'll kill you all!" while the shocked nurses scrambled to restrain him again. A needle jabbed into his own chest. He gasped, eyes widening as something shifted violently inside him. The scientist stepped back, startled, as his body went limp, then twitched unnaturally before collapsing with a thud. The news anchor announced grimly that a mysterious gate had suddenly appeared in downtown Seoul at dawn. Cameras showed the massive swirling portal pulsing with light as emergency crews blocked off the surrounding area. A special unit under the Hunter Agency was dispatched immediately, moving fast to assess the growing threat. From his hospital bed, Daesung stared silently at the TV, recognizing the gate's glow from his past. As thunder cracked overhead, the unit entered, then froze at the sight of a monstrous beast charging straight out. The field captain confirmed the monster was neutralized, reporting they were finishing cleanup operations at the scene. When asked how long it took, he estimated under an hour, based on the gate's condition. Blades and bullets flew as his team executed final strikes on lingering creatures with swift precision and force. Back at HQ, a senior officer ordered the team to report once the threat was completely cleared. The officer adjusted his tie calmly, aware something bigger might follow this incident, and it would be soon. The news report praised the hunt team's swift action, stating the gate was nearly sealed completely. Daesung sat up. Thinking aloud, he recognized terms like wormhole and hunt team from past nightmares. Just then, a sharply dressed man burst in, shocked to find Daesung fully conscious and alert. Daesung blinked, confused by the man's familiarity, his voice quiet. "Who are you?" he asked cautiously. The man grinned, half surprised, half offended, saying, "Dude, you don't remember me at all?" Daesung stared closely, slowly recognizing the man before him. His voice trembled. "No way. Are you Chan Ho?" he asked in disbelief, memories flooding back. The man laughed and confirmed, "Yeah, dude, it's me." Chan Ho sat beside him, concerned. "Are you okay? You've been gone a long time, man." Daesung responded uncertainly, I suppose." Chan Ho revealed the truth. "You've been unconscious for the last 10 years. 10 years? Daesung echoed, his gaze distant as he recalled the day everything changed at graduation. 10 years ago, Daesung stumbled on the street, eyes wide, sensing something was terribly wrong. Without warning, he collapsed onto the pavement as startled classmates rushed to his side, yelling his name. Since that moment, he remained unconscious, monitored inside the same hospital room for a full decade. Lying awake now, Daesung whispered, 10 years? Struggling to accept what had happened since then. He clenched his fist quietly. "I survived in hell for 80 years. 10 here feels like nothing now." Chanho smiled, relieved. Daesung muttered softly to himself, "That's actually a relief," but didn't explain further. "Wait, what are you talking about?" Chanho asked, confused. Daesung quickly responded, "Nothing. Never mind." Chanho sighed and shared news. "Your mom's been working non-stop, doing everything she can to support you. She handled the bills, but now you're awake. You're the man of the house again. I even lined up a job for you already," he added. Daesung quietly nodded and said, "Yeah." The nurse cheerfully pushed Daesung's wheelchair outside. "Such lovely weather today, don't you think?" Daesung's expression hardened. "In hell, I fought only for myself. Survival was the only thing that mattered. Now reality demanded more. He had a mother, a household, people depending on him to stand again." He looked down at his trembling legs. "But with this broken body, I'm just a burden." Guilt clenched his chest. "Reality is as harsh as hell," he whispered. The nurse gasped, stunned, silent. Two men approached aggressively, one calling out to the nurse, Oi, lady, got a moment? Daesung narrowed his eyes and whispered, Who the hell are these guys? Sensing immediate tension around them, the taller thug stepped forward. Why haven't you answered our calls? Where's our money, huh? The mother fumbled her words, clearly anxious. I'm sorry. I'll pay back everything by next month. The thug sneered. Next month again? That's the same excuse you gave the last 3 times. The mother pleaded, Please, I promise I'll pay soon. Just give me a little more time. One thug grabbed her arm roughly. Ah, what the F asterisk, Seacake? Don't touch me, she screamed in panic. Daesung's hands trembled as he watched her recoil, powerless to stop what was happening before him. The thug growled, You should have paid like anyone else. You think kindness means we'll wait forever? She lowered her head, voice shaking. Please, not in front of my child. I'll pay. Just leave. The thug sneered and clenched his fist. You don't get it, do you, lady? He struck her hard across the face. Maybe now you'll understand in front of your damn kid. Daesung's eyes widened in fury. His breath stopped. The world around him narrowed to that violent moment. He muttered with clenched fists and shaking legs, You filthy bastards! And slowly began to rise. The thugs paused, confused. Did he just call us filthy bastards? One said, watching Daesung stand shakily. Daesung growled, fists clenched. You worthless maggots! Rage boiled over from everything he endured in hell. The nurse panicked. Daesung, no, don't! She shouted, recognizing something dangerous building inside his voice. Ignoring her, he seized the armrest and pushed himself up, trembling but no longer willing to retreat. The thug scoffed, unfazed. Yeah, just keep yapping away, tough guy. You're barely standing. Daesung, apologize right now, she pleaded, fearing the worst as his body began to respond unnaturally. His mother begged, He's a patient. He doesn't know anything. Please just let him go. The thug growled. He should know. Think of how much money got wasted keeping him alive. He pulled Daesung closer. So, what are you gonna do about it, you little maggot? Smirking cruelly, he added, Still half asleep? Or just that twisted from dreaming too long in bed? Then he leaned in, eyes sharp. Hey, who do you think is the bug around here? The thug spat. A cripple like you should stay quiet, before swinging his arm with force. Daesung was flung violently through the air, crashing to the ground in a brutal tumble. The thug mocked him again. Bugs like you only understand one thing, getting stomped underfoot. He pounded Daesung with kicks and punches, releasing all his cruelty into each strike. Why stop now, huh? Say something, he roared, landing another vicious blow as Daesung grunted in pain. Daesung gritted his teeth in agony, bloodied and pinned down, powerless in his weakened body. You bastards, if only I were in peak condition. He cursed silently, fury growing in him. His mother screamed, Daesung, please stop! But the thug only laughed and beat him harder. Daesung raged inside. You bastards! If only this was hell, I'd rip you to pieces. Suddenly, a system alert appeared. Advent quest has arrived. Will you accept? And the screen glowed ominously. Daesung's eyes widened in shock. A familiar sensation returned, one he hadn't felt since hell. An Advent quest? He gasped, heart pounding. The glowing system screen hovered just inches from his face. Bruised but determined, Daesung reached toward the burning prompt. His will to fight reignited without hesitation. Han Daesung's body floated in darkness, blood-red mist whispering truths only the damned could hear clearly. You shall awaken, the voice hissed, not as a child of man, but as hell's heir. Golden sparks lit the void, his soul fractured, realigning itself. The curse and blessing forged into one. Daesung gasped, coughing as he collapsed on Earth's ground. Familiar skies, but something felt deeply wrong. His eyes widened. The city lay in ruins. If I'm back, then it isn't over. A quest notification blinked before Daesung's eyes. Physical restoration, an impossible reward suddenly offered by the system. Confused, he read aloud, Realization, divine pulse, recovery. None of it made sense at first glance. He clenched his fist. Does this mean I can go back to my original body now? A loud ding echoed. Nearby, 10 meters ahead, a glowing red beacon surged with buzzing electrical energy. Daesung narrowed his eyes. But to recover, I need to move all the way there, right? He smirked, determined. I will crawl if I have to, as long as I recover fully. Step by step, his breath grew heavier. Muscles screamed, skin tore, yet he refused to slow down. Knees buckled. Damn, he muttered, gasping for air. I can't believe I'm struggling over 10 meters. A new system alert blinked. Time remaining. Overload. Divine recovery now required precise control under intense stress. This isn't something I can overcome with just willpower, Daesung thought. I need to think this through. Daesung recalled, the system never gives a mission that is impossible to accomplish, no matter what. He squinted at the prompt. Goal, location, and reward were shown, but no specific movement method listed. The same goes for this quest, he realized. There's no rule saying I have to walk. That's it, he shouted, eyes focused. Move! It never said how only that I have to move. Crawling fast, he gritted his teeth. I don't have to walk. I just need to get there. I'm such an idiot, Daesung muttered, frustrated. The answer was obvious. I only noticed now. He stretched his arm out desperately, fingers scraping pavement. The timer ticked with brutal urgency above him. Just a little more, he gasped, breathing hard, dragging his body with everything he had left. His vision blurred, muscles tore. Still, he groaned, I'm not giving up here. Not at the finish. With one last push, Daesung grabbed the edge and stood. A weak, shaky stance, but finally upright. Daesung saw the timer, 0 o'clock, 0. His heart pounded. There's still time! I can do this! Eyes sharp, he grabbed the wheelchair. With a deep breath, he pushed forward with everything remaining. The wheels spun wildly as he lunged forward. Each second felt longer than the last 5 minutes. Ha! Ha! He gasped, arms trembling, sweat pouring. The goal stood just meters away, glowing, pulsing red. The countdown struck 2 seconds. With a desperate cry, he surged forward. Light exploded as the timer ended. The timer read 0 o'clock, 0. Daesung collapsed at the finish, gasping as a bottle materialized. Ha! Made it! He panted, barely able to lift the glowing vial pulsing softly in his hand. A ding confirmed his success. The system message displayed his reward, a small potion for recovery. Without hesitation, Daesung raised the bottle and drank. The strange liquid burned slightly as it went down. Whoa! He gasped, eyes widening. Something powerful surged through his veins like a dormant circuit suddenly reactivated. Daesung clenched his fist. The pain's gone, he whispered. I feel strong. Is this the potion? Across the square, a man scanned frantically, confused. Huh? Where the hell did he go? He shouted, panicking. He was just there! The girl beside him looked around, equally startled by Daesung's disappearance. A security guard yelled from nearby, Hey! You two, what are you doing? Stop right there! Among the crowd, a familiar voice called out. Daesung! The girl shouted, finally spotting him again. The thug froze. What? When the hell did he get all the way over there? His companion stepped closer, whispering, Sir, I think we should leave for now. Something feels wrong. Scowling, the man clicked his tongue. Tch, forget it. Not worth the trouble. Let's go. Behind them, Daesung sat in silence. His body calmed, but his mind kept replaying everything. That night, beneath a silent sky, the hospital stood quiet, holding within it someone reborn from hell. Lying in bed, Daesung thought hard. How did the status window pop up back there? He stared at the dark ceiling. I tried so many times before, but it never appeared. Back then, I gave up after no response. Why did it work that time? Sitting up, he whispered sharply, Status window, come on! But nothing happened. Damn it, not now! Gritting his teeth, he muttered, I need more quests. I need to recover before they return. Suddenly, Daesung was pulled into a vortex. A prompt appeared, teleporting to Absolute Being's realm. His eyes widened. What now? He shouted, breath catching as light and smoke swallowed his entire body. Floating mid-air, he looked around in awe. Where is this? Is this a dream again? A ding echoed through the void. Quest start. Realization. His surroundings shimmered with radiant system light. Daesung clenched his fists. If this is real, I'll clear this quest too, no matter what. Daesung faced forward with sharp eyes. Let's get started then. No backing down from this. A new quest appeared. Destroy the designated target. No time limit. Reward memory chip and divine realization. As the message faded, a monstrous figure emerged from smoke, its twisted form radiating pure hostility. Daesung steadied his breath. Ha! He whispered, bracing his fists. This fight was his path to recovery. With a sharp glare and clenched fist, Daesung charged in. Time to break through everything again! Daesung's punch landed with explosive force, blasting the monster backward in a blinding flash of power. A ding followed quickly, new quest assigned. Run 10 kilometers, time limit 3 hours, difficulty lowest. Breathing heavily, Daesung steadied himself. Ha! Ha! His body ached, but he wouldn't stop moving now. He turned and sprinted forward again, blazing through the red mist, driven by pure determination and urgency. Another quest appeared. 1,000 push-ups within 2 hours. His current count, 0. Time to begin. Daesung grunted between breaths. Ha! 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 His arms trembled, muscles screaming with each downward push. He kept going. Ha! 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 Sweat flew as he slammed out reps without losing form. The system displayed realization in progress, 65%. The bar crawled despite everything he had poured in. You've got to be kidding, he muttered. 10 days of grinding, and it's only 65%? Enough with these supplements, Daesung growled. I want a real challenge. Give me an actual quest. A loud ding rang out. The system finally answered Daesung's demand with a real challenge. Advent Quest 10 appeared. Defeat the crying demon. Limited time. Objective, identify and destroy target. Daesung narrowed his eyes. Crying demon? He repeated, tension rising. Could it be who I think? The air sparked. Violet arcs surged across the floor. The realm itself shook under pressure and power. A blinding pillar of lightning struck before him, massive, violent, final. His next battle had arrived. The crying demon emerged from the lightning, towering and growling. Daesung took one step forward, unfazed. So it's you, Daesung muttered coldly. I almost died because of you back in hell. His lips curled into a grin. It's so good to see you here this time. Reversed. The demon lunged with a thunderous roar. Daesung launched upward, prepared to end what once began. The beast's blazing axe tore through the air as Daesung stood frozen, eyes locked in fear. The demon snarled, lunging downward, its monstrous blade erupting with fire and hatred aimed directly at Daesung. The strike connected with a brutal wham, sending Daesung flying backwards, pain ripping through his battered body. Skidding across the floor, Daesung clenched his jaw, muttering, I'll die if I keep blocking like this. With a desperate cry, he leapt forward, channeling strength into his legs to reach the charging beast. Daesung twisted his body mid-air, dodging narrowly as the demon's claws slashed past his shoulder. He countered with a swift punch, crashing his fist into the demon's gut with brutal force. Coughing blood, Daesung stumbled backward, clutching his ribs and muttering curses under his breath through clenched teeth. Glaring in frustration, he muttered, I'm getting tossed by a crying demon. This is humiliating as hell. Roaring, the demon lifted both arms, muscles bulging, preparing a crushing strike aimed straight for Daesung's skull. The demon stomped the ground, closing in with terrifying force, slamming Daesung straight into the floor. Daesung was flung like a rag doll, his body crashing through air as pain surged through him. The demon swung again, its powerful arms cutting the air, aiming to end Daesung for good. It grabbed him mid-air with crushing strength. Daesung gasped, feeling bones creak under the demon's relentless grip. Dazed and bruised, Daesung's eyes sharpened. Ah, I remember, he whispered, a thought piercing the fog. Daesung growled through bloodied lips. I remember how you beat me back then in hell. His eyes flared with resolve and fury. And I remember how I beat you too. With sudden speed, he lunged forward, slicing through the demon's side in a clean, sharp strike. Multiple blades slashed across the demon's body, each cut precise, unleashing a flurry of deep wounds. The demon shrieked in agony as Daesung stood firm, blade in hand, ready to finish this. Daesung stood calmly, gripping his sword. "I forgot I could reawaken my burn-scarred weapon!" The demon roared, charging wildly with teeth bared and rage boiling over like fire in motion. Daesung raised his arm, eyes sharp. "Piss off back!" he muttered, shifting into a powerful stance. "To hell!" he shouted, swinging the massive blade, energy swirling and crashing toward the rushing monster. A system chime echoed. "Threat eliminated! Experience acquired! Stat increases pending! Title earned! Demon Executioner!" At a hospital downtown, the sun rose calmly over the building as life inside carried on. A nurse pushed a cart down the corridor, her footsteps echoing in the quiet, sterile hallway. A nearby door creaked slowly open, unnoticed, as a figure carefully stepped into the quiet room. Inside, a girl stirred from sleep, sensing movement and light filtering through the curtain-lined hospital window. Rubbing her eyes, she whispered nervously, "Who?" while staring at the approaching figure in silence. Bare feet touched the floor. The boy took a quiet step toward the stunned woman watching him. Her eyes widened as recognition dawned. "Daesung," she gasped, disbelief and shock twisting her voice. The boy stood confidently, body scarred and hardened, eyes steady as light shimmered behind him. He gave a small nod and said softly, "Mom," as emotion filled the quiet hospital room. Elsewhere in the hospital, people moved normally, unaware that a miraculous reunion had just taken place. Hospital staff grabbed Daesung's arms cautiously, unsure how a long-term patient suddenly regained full physical strength. They guided him through the hallway, drawing glances from doctors, nurses, and patients who recognized his face. His mother asked the doctor, "You said 6 months of therapy, how is he walking like that?" Looking at Daesung in disbelief, she continued, "How is he moving so normally after just weeks?" The doctor adjusted his glasses, sighing. "Right now, I can't explain it. His condition is unexplainable." She hesitated, then asked the doctor, "Do you think Daesung might have awakened as a hunter?" Her voice trembled. "He can't be that, right?" Her thoughts raced with fear and curiosity mixed together. The doctor answered calmly, "His symptoms don't match typical awakenings, so there's no cause for alarm." She sighed in relief beside the doctor. Meanwhile, a nurse playfully squeezed Daesung's muscular arm in awe. "Stop squeezing me!" Daesung barked. The nurse blushed. "Sorry, I'm just shocked you recovered so incredibly fast." His mother looked at him gently and asked, "Are you really okay now, Daesung?" Daesung nodded, thinking to himself, "I feel fine. No issues with walking or using my limbs. I must return to my original state," he thought, "and do it as fast as possible." Raising his arm, he prepared himself mentally, while glancing back toward his mother and the staff. Approaching her, he said, "Thank you, Nurse Kim." She smiled. "Please, I didn't do much." Nurse Kim gently replied, "It's nothing compared to what you've endured these last 10 years. Holding back tears, Daesung's mother said, "You've done so well," overwhelmed by her son's miraculous return. Daesung quietly watched, thinking, "It really feels like a miracle, something beyond explanation or logic." His heart ached. I can't even imagine how much pain she carried all these years. He clenched his fist tightly, silently vowing never to let her suffer like that again. Daesung thought, "From now on, I'll face this world head-on and protect what matters." He glanced around, walking calmly toward the nearby restroom, needing a moment alone to prepare himself. Inside, he whispered, "Activate," as the empty room filled with a strange and familiar energy. A glowing system window appeared, portal activated, its light swirling, pulling him toward another dimension once again. Wind roared around him. Standing alone between realms, Daesung took a breath and stepped forward boldly. Daesung sighed and muttered, "Can't we speed up this realization thing?" Tired of waiting in limbo. A glowing prompt appeared. Difficulty levels adjustable, limited to Advent quests. Choose difficulty, lowest, low, medium. Daesung's eyes narrowed with determination. "I'll finish everything with this one," he thought without hesitation. With a steady voice, he said, "Hell," choosing the highest challenge with absolute conviction in his strength. Another prompt appeared. Advent quest difficulty has been adjusted to hell. The trial was now set. Daesung stood calmly as energy surged around him, a storm of lightning forming a massive red portal. The portal pulsed with power, cracking open with booming force as lightning danced across the sky. With a final thunderous crack, the portal split open, revealing a descending warrior wrapped in electric energy. A figure dropped from the portal, sword in hand, crackling with raw energy and divine intent. Daesung watched and scoffed casually, brushing his ear. "So dramatic," he muttered, unimpressed by the entrance. The armored figure glanced coldly toward Daesung, radiating pressure and energy unlike anything seen before. Daesung froze, eyes wide. The figure's stance, aura, and weapon looked disturbingly familiar, eerily identical. "No way! It can't be!" he whispered, panic rising in his voice and his chest tightening. "That's me!" Daesung shouted internally, recognizing the figure as a version of himself, stronger, darker, and transformed. System alert rang. Adversary generated. Possible being. Han Daesung. Origin state. Target classified as high threat. Under a crimson sky, Daesung faced the looming enemy, battlefield tense with looming silence and threat. A cold grin curled on his lips. "Figures. I'm the absolute being of hell," he murmured confidently. Without hesitation, his body launched forward, cutting through space like a blade aimed straight at his foe. Eyes widened, his opponent barely reacted. Daesung's assault was faster than his senses could even register. From above, Daesung descended like a hammer, swinging his weapon with crushing force, aiming to end it. Daesung descended rapidly, both arms tense as he aimed his powerful blow directly at the enemy's core. A loud clang echoed as his strike met a counter, their weapons locking with explosive force mid-air. Rebounding from the impact, Daesung skidded backward, sliding across the battlefield while struggling to maintain his balance. Frustration flared on his face, his teeth clenched, hand twitching, knowing the clash didn't go as planned. Regaining footing, he stepped forward again, eyes locked on the enemy, refusing to give him breathing room. The enemy charged forward, muscles tensed and fists raised, aiming to crush Daesung in a single blow. Daesung blocked the strike just in time, their clash sending out a burst of blinding energy. He growled under his breath, "You knocked off my balance," glaring as pain shot through his arm. With no time to recover, Daesung was forced into a flurry of dodges, parries, and counterswings. Their weapons collided again and again fast, brutal, chaotic. Sparks scattered as steel clashed in deadly rhythm. A sharp slash landed on Daesung's arm, blood spilling as pain jolted through his upper body. Another cut tore into his side, forcing him back. He couldn't keep up with the enemy's assault. "Damn it! In my current state, I can't match his power and speed," Daesung thought grimly. He parried another attack, but felt the weight if this fight lasted longer, he'd surely fall. Just as Daesung repositioned, his eyes widened. The enemy had closed the gap with a sudden strike. Daesung was struck mid-air, lightning laced with force, sending him crashing down through layers of magical barriers. He slammed into the ground, light exploding around him, dust rising as debris cracked beneath his weight. Smoke cleared slowly. Daesung gritted his teeth, coughing hard, struggling to push himself upright through the pain. "Not sure if he's enjoying this," he muttered, eyes narrowing while gripping his sword for balance. His glare sharpened. "In any case, I'm going to kill you today," he declared, with resolve. Daesung's aura exploded outward as he roared, "Blood demonation!" His body surging with immense red power, his blade pulsed with dark energy, and his eyes glowed. He had fully embraced his hell-born strength. The enemy's expression shifted. Sensing something had changed, he focused, preparing to respond to Daesung's transformation. A burst of energy cracked the air. Daesung launched forward, his figure a crimson blur. With a single slash, Daesung struck his empowered attack, breaking through the enemy's guard with overwhelming force. The enemy blocked but faltered. Daesung's enhanced speed overwhelmed him, forcing his defenses to fall apart. Snarling, the enemy shouted, "What are you looking at?" and struck Daesung squarely in the ribs. The hit landed hard, sending Daesung crashing to the ground, rubble flying beneath his collapsing body. But the enemy clutched his head. Daesung's last strike had disrupted something deep inside his mind. Daesung recovered quickly, raised his weapon, and swung downward, aiming to end the fight in one blow. Daesung slammed the enemy into the ground, shockwaves bursting out from the force of the impact. But the enemy twisted, slipping away in an instant, vanishing before Daesung could land another strike. Landing several meters away, he skidded to a halt, eyes glowing, grin slowly spreading across his face. With a sinister smile, the enemy stared back, his aura flaring, no longer holding back anything. Dark energy surged around his body. He transformed fully, a towering demonic form radiating overwhelming power and menace. Daesung's eyes narrowed. He can use blood demonization as well? The situation had suddenly become worse. The enemy charged forward, laughing wildly, blood-red energy crackling from his blade with each step he took. Their weapons collided again, shaking the battlefield shockwaves bursting outward as both warriors clashed with equal lethal intent. Snarling, Daesung roared, "Just die, you bastard!" as he pushed against the force with everything he had. Swinging hard, Daesung leapt sideways, dodging the counter and preparing his next attack without losing momentum. Blood dripped down Han Daesung's cheek as he gasped, pain clouding his vision and thoughts completely. From behind, the white-haired enemy charged, blades ready, his body surging with brutal, relentless killing intent. Daesung twisted, gritting his teeth through the agony, barely managing to scream, "Ark! You bastard!" in defiance. The enemy raised his arm, red energy swirling violently. The wind howled as his strike descended fast. Daesung's eyes widened with fear, a shiver crawling down his spine as the power loomed overhead. Han Daesung stood silently in the bathroom, startled by loud banging echoing from the stall door. His body trembled as more hits landed. Someone outside yelled, "Is someone in here?" through the noise. The janitor frowned, confused by the locked door, unsure why anyone would be hiding inside at all. He muttered, "That's so weird," glancing around nervously, the tension making his routine feel suddenly unusual. Reaching out cautiously, he gripped the handle, preparing to unlock it and reveal what was inside. The door slowly clicked open as the janitor twisted the knob, unaware of the fight unfolding. Inside the battlefield illusion, Han Daesung faced his enemy, bloodied and weakened, yet refusing to fall. Blood pooled around him as he thought, "If I lose now, everything I've done is wasted." He clenched his jaw, whispering, "Think, Han Daesung. There must be a way. Remember who you are." Suddenly his eyes widened as an idea struck. Gasping, he muttered in shock, "Inventory?" With growing hope, a staff member called out, "Miss Kim, you're needed on the 3rd floor right now." Startled, she released the doorknob and replied nervously, "Oh dear, I completely forgot." "Hurry," the other staff urged. She reluctantly turned away, leaving the door unopened behind her. Inside, the battle raged on. Daesung faced his enemy, breathing hard, clenching his fist tightly. A glowing light surged around him as a voice echoed, "Ding! Inventory activated." Marking his last chance. Han Daesung locked eyes on the glowing portal, his breath steady, determination burning in silence. He reached forward, arms stretching into the swirl of energy, drawing out the item he needed. A huge blade emerged from the portal. The enemy paused, whispering, "Wait." Sensing something had changed, Daesung grinned fiercely and shouted, "This mission isn't over just yet," as his comeback truly began. Daesung stared at the glowing vial his reward item earned from countless quests in Hell's torment. He grasped the potion tightly, recalling how he used to toss these away without much thought. The notification flashed, "Nutritional supplement for the absolute being, restoring 20% HP and stamina per dose consumed. 5 doses should be enough to fight," he muttered, chugging the potion with swift, practiced ease. Eyes burning, the enemy charged in with feral speed. Daesung clenched his jaw, ready to counter. Daesung slashed clean across the enemy's chest, his glowing blade cutting through flesh with brutal precision. The demon reeled, blood spraying, as Daesung's punch followed fast and cracked against his furious face. Staggering back, the beast lost balance, feet scraping as Daesung surged forward, energy pulsing around his limbs. Grinning wide, Daesung's voice echoed, "Oh yeah, now this is more like it!" Fighting felt right. Without hesitation, he reached toward the vortex ahead, ready to end this with one final decisive strike. Daesung muttered, "No need to drag this on." He reached for his potions without hesitation. Holding 2 bottles in hand, Daesung began recharging his strength, preparing for the final aggressive phase. While gulping 1 potion mid-dodge, he spun beneath the enemy's strike, staying fast and fully focused. He whispered, "3," as another potion slid down his throat, energy stabilizing just before another clash. The enemy howled and leapt forward, crimson eyes blazing, aiming to crush Daesung with overwhelming force. Blades clashed again as Daesung and the demon exchanged blows within a spiral of raw energy. "4!" Daesung grunted, gulping another potion while dodging, sweat clinging to his skin from the pressure. "5!" he declared, now fully charged. His movements sharpened, surging back into close quarters with focused precision. Even with all 5 potions used, Daesung realized this monster's power still hadn't dropped at all. The enemy lunged forward, eyes blazing red, fingers extended, aiming to end Daesung with one brutal grab. Daesung choked out in pain as the enemy's hand locked tightly around his exposed neck. The demon held him mid-air, dominating the battlefield as his massive blade prepared to strike hard. With a sinister grin, the demon leaned closer, eyes glowing, relishing Daesung's moment of helpless struggle. The heavy blade rose, cutting through the air with lethal intent toward Daesung's unmoving chest. Gritting his teeth, Daesung shouted desperately, "Inventory!" searching for anything to counter or survive. The blade struck cleanly. Daesung redirected it mid-air, piercing the demon's arm instead of himself. The demon's eyes widened in shock, realizing too late the momentum had shifted in Daesung's favor. Daesung pulled a dimensional rift from his inventory, aiming it directly at the weapon stuck mid-air. With a loud pulse, the sword was sucked into the rift, yanked from the demon's hands violently. The weapon vanished with a heavy thud nearby, Daesung's foot landing firm on the ground. Daesung opened his inventory calmly, whispering to himself it was time to use his final measure. A radiant glow erupted from beneath him as stored energy began surging through his entire body. The system message confirmed completion. He had reached 100% divine figure, returning his form to peak. Transformation complete, energy pulsed around Daesung as his body lifted, charged with divine strength and clarity. He looked at himself, amazed. "This is way out of power's range," he muttered in disbelief. Daesung stared at his scars, realizing they would always remind him of surviving hell's brutal trials. He inhaled, calming himself. "System, I think I'm ready to leave," he said with measured certainty. A sudden notification echoed. He had one unread message waiting. The system requested confirmation to check it. Confused but curious, Daesung blinked. "An unread message?" he repeated, unsure what might be waiting inside. Without hesitation, he reached forward and tapped yes, activating the message that might change everything ahead. Messages arrived. Hell welcomed Han Daesung as its overlord, yet he chose Earth instead. While he was gone, heavenly forces sealed off Hell, isolating the realm and halting its chaos. Daesung stared at the portal. "So you're asking me to help clean up now?" He laughed bitterly. "After 80 years of torment, you want favors because I survived and ruled?" Without hesitation, Daesung raised his hand and flipped them off, giving a very clear answer. Daesung yelled with defiance, raising his middle finger high, his last words, before leaving Hell behind. "System, get me out of here," he commanded, standing within the glowing escape field's circle. As the portal opened, demonic beasts screeched and surged forward, clawing toward him in chaotic waves. But the gate pulsed faster. Light swallowed him just as monsters filled the collapsing battlefield. A new day dawned. In a quiet city, bare feet touched a familiar clean floor. Daesung balanced effortlessly on one hand, counting softly. 51, 52, 53. His body moved fluidly. he whispered, lost in concentration as his eyes focused sharply ahead with calm resolve. Unnoticed, two adults stood outside the door, watching the boy in stunned silence at his control. They quietly stepped away, heading down the hall, minds swirling with concern and something like wonder. The doctor spoke first. "It seems like your son is an awakened one, beyond standard categories." The doctor admitted, "At first I saw no signs, but now, awakening is the only explanation." The woman held her son, whispering, "How could something like this happen to my Daesung?" "We've done what we can," the doctor added. "The rest depends on the association's evaluation." Daesung lowered his head slightly. "Thank you for everything you've done," he said sincerely to them. He stared outside in silence, unsure of what came next, the city waiting for his decision. Daesung repeated the terms quietly. Awakened association, still unsure of what they truly meant for him. A taxi sped along the city roads as thoughts filled Daesung's mind, too fast to organize. He had sensed the signs, but ignored them, his focus locked entirely on survival and clearing quests. Glancing sideways, Daesung thought, "Mom's hiding something." Her silence during the ride said more than words. He stared at the city skyline. "What the hell happened while I was gone 10 years? Daesung told his mother to head inside, while he quickly visited the neighbor next door. She nodded and entered, while Daesung stepped aside, curious why money was being slipped into place. He rounded the corner and froze when he saw a girl crouched near the shelves. With a guarded tone, Daesung asked, "Who are you?" His eyes narrowed, posture shifting slightly in caution. The girl stood up slowly and answered, "Roommate," clutching the cash like it was routine. His mother asked Daesung about food, trying to act normal despite the tension lingering around. Then she turned sharply. "Jisoo, where have you been?" Her voice cracked with worry and frustration. Daesung's face shifted as he repeated the name, confused by the intensity of his mother's reaction. The girl continued calmly, counting folded bills with robotic precision, her focus completely removed from the others. His mother's face fell. "No, not again," she muttered, clearly recognizing a painful pattern unfolding again. Jisoo quietly slipped something into her pocket and walked past as if nothing had happened. She walked right between their mother and Daesung, expressionless, ignoring the weight of the awkward moment. Daesung thought, "I know I was away for 80 years, but she was always supportive." Then it hit him. How the hell did I not recognize my only sibling right away? Jisoo smirked bitterly. "You look healthy. It was hell every day for us here, you know." Jisoo walked out quickly. Their mother called after her, confused and already fearing the worst. Without hesitation, Jisoo slammed her fist against a wooden gate, shouting, "Oi, lady, open up!" Inside, Daesung and his mother turned sharply, startled by the noise and Jisoo's sudden aggression. A large man outside yelled, "If this door doesn't open in 3 seconds, I'm breaking it!" He kicked hard at the gate while yelling louder, "Open up, damn it!" The walls shook. Daesung narrowed his eyes, jaw tightening. He had seen enough, it was time to step forward. Loud bangs echoed across the quiet town as 2 angry men stormed toward a run-down neighborhood house. They kicked the door violently, shouting threats. One man cursed, furious someone had left the hospital silently. Inside, a pink-haired girl stood frozen. Another girl beside her whispered, "Jisoo, come here, hurry!" The man yelled again, slamming harder. "I know you're in there!" Panic spread across the quiet room. Outside, one thug asked, "Are we sure it's this house?" The other growled, "Let's just break in." The door unlocked with a heavy clunk as the pink-haired girl stepped outside without any hesitation. Jisoo stared at the men, voice sharp and annoyed. "Geez, so *** King loud," showing no sign of fear. The men paused, confused by her sudden appearance and calm demeanor as she walked toward them slowly. One thug asked, "Who's that?" His partner replied, "I think that's her daughter," eyes narrowing in suspicion. The door behind creaked open again. The man shouted, "What the? So you were home?" The scar-faced man smirked with cold eyes, clearly expecting something as he stepped forward without hesitation. The woman lowered her gaze, apologizing softly. I'm sorry, we were discharged today, so I couldn't contact you. Her hands trembled as she pulled bills from her bag. This is all I have. Please? Before she could finish, a harsh slap sent her purse flying. The man showed no mercy at all. A boy nearby screamed, eyes wide with horror. Mom! His voice cracked, panic rising fast in his chest. The thug shouted furiously, You B***ch! You think we came all this way for that? He kicked her hard in the stomach. She hit the ground with a painful thud, gasping in shock. Her son froze, fists clenched. Rage replaced fear as he glared at the man hurting his mother. The thug entered the house arrogantly, door creaking behind him, unaware of the change in the boy's eyes. Suddenly, the other man tumbled backward with a yell. Something or someone had just knocked him off his feet. The standing thug grabbed his partner, confused. Dude, what's wrong? The fallen man trembled, eyes wide. That guy, he stuttered, pointing toward the boy who now stood fearlessly at the entrance. They looked up in disbelief. That guy? One thug muttered as the boy's shadow loomed over them. The boy calmly said, Speak of the devil. I actually wanted to see you guys, voice cold and firm. The thug scoffed. You the cripple from before? Looks like Mom's money wasn't totally wasted, huh? The thug stepped forward, confused. What the hell are you? But was grabbed mid-sentence, eyes widening fast. The boy growled, An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, before swinging his fist hard. 10 times, he shouted, striking with relentless fury. 100 times. The thug reeled from each brutal blow. Absolutely, the boy roared, fists continuing to hammer down with precision, fury building with each satisfying impact. As the thug collapsed to the ground, the boy muttered, Come now. There's still plenty left. The thug groaned, face bloodied and swollen. He struggled to lift his head, barely able to breathe. He looked around, dazed, then spotted a wooden chair nearby. Hatred burned as he wiped his mouth. Fuck this! Have you lost your damn mind, you little bastard? He screamed, gripping the chair tightly. With a wild roar, he raised the chair overhead, preparing to strike down with all his strength. Before he could land a blow, the boy countered, smashing him through the wood with devastating force. The second thug slammed the door open and kicked forward, launching a wild surprise attack from behind. He reached for his weapon fast, hand sliding to his belt, where a hidden knife was secured. You little bastard! Come on, I dare you, I'll stick you like a pig, he shouted. The boy didn't flinch. Calmly, he stepped forward, eyes locked on the man's every aggressive motion. Come on! The thug barked again, only to have his wrist grabbed mid-swing before he could react. The boy growled, It was this arm, wasn't it? And clenched the thug's wrist tightly. Let go of me! The thug cried out, struggling. The boy didn't budge, eyes sharp with rage. The hand that hit my mom, he muttered, and snapped the man's arm without a second thought. The knife clattered to the ground as the thug screamed, Ah! My hand! Falling back in agony. Bloodied and furious, the other thug stood. You think you can get away with this? He shouted. The boy grabbed the thug's collar tightly. There's a debt! You too! His voice trembled with anger. Are you leaving so of Asterisk King soon? He yelled, shaking the thug as rage boiled to the surface. Breathing hard, the thug gasped. Okay, just do what you want! Barely able to stay standing. Moments later, the thugs stumbled away down the narrow alley, clutching their injuries and limping without looking back. A black car roared into the distance, speeding down the street as the chaos finally started to fade. Inside the car, one man pointed forward. That bastard? He's the one in the wheelchair before. He got a little bigger, but I think it's the same guy, the driver responded warily. How could someone not move for 10 years, then suddenly turn into a monster like that? Hey, stop the car, the pink-haired girl ordered as the others kept discussing how to handle him. Her purse lay open. After you fainted, we sold the house and handed over the shop. The mother sighed. We thought you'd wake up soon. In the end, we lost the deposit too. Someone I knew introduced me to loan options from a non-banking sector, she continued quietly, eyes downcast. But it hasn't been easy. Forget the principal. The interest just keeps growing higher each month. The boy asked, And Jisoo? Isn't she still a student? Why is she running around like that? She wanted to pitch in. Worked day and night gas station by day, convenience store by night. Daesung frowned. You should have stopped her. She should have at least graduated. His voice was filled with guilt. I did, but we had to save you first, his mother replied, eyes heavy with exhaustion. You weren't getting better. Something changed in her these last months. She grew distant, even rebellious. Daesung lowered his head, voice trembling. You should have just let me be. He couldn't meet her eyes. Don't say that, Daesung. We're a family, she said firmly. He stayed silent, swallowing the weight of it. The phone buzzed on the table, its vibration sharp in the quiet air of the room. His mother reached for it, but Daesung stopped her with a gesture. Give it to me. He glanced at the screen. It's those guys from just now, he muttered, tension creeping into his voice. Lifting the phone to his ear, he asked coldly, What, we still have unfinished business? His eyes narrowed. What? He repeated, voice low as something unsettling was said on the other end. Daesung's face twisted in fury. He clenched the phone and shouted, You mother***uckers, voice shaking with rage. A black car screeched to a halt, cutting through traffic, stopping near the alley's hidden entrance. Inside, a furious man dragged a girl by her hair, shouting threats while she struggled silently. He warned her brother to bring 10 million won using his power, or face dire consequences. Smirking cruelly, he added that any trick would risk the girl's life. He demanded total obedience. Far away, Han Daesung gritted his teeth, trembling with rage as he stared at his phone. Daesung's mother looked around, confused and worried, sensing something was wrong but unsure what happened. Daesung stood up abruptly, phone in hand, telling her he needed to step out for now. She rushed toward him, pleading not to do anything reckless, her voice trembling with growing fear. If you're arrested or injured, I wouldn't be able to live, she said, tears filling her eyes. Daesung clenched his fists. Killing them was pointless. This wasn't hell anymore. He needed a better way. A sudden system alert chimed as a fiery portal ignited beside Daesung, reacting to his resolve. He turned his back to his mother, stepping calmly toward the glowing portal without any hesitation. His mother called out his name, her voice shaky, still unsure what power she just witnessed. Daesung looked back at her gently, reassuring her not to worry with a steady, quiet voice. He smiled faintly, promising everything would be okay, even as the portal's flames danced around him. A loud chime rang as the portal displayed new features adaptation bonus and a free skill activation. Daesung read the screen calmly, annoyed it didn't come sooner when he actually needed it most. Another notification flashed. Multiple skills listed poison, stealth, hellflame, and shadow shade summon, all ranked and categorized. He stared at the list, analyzing quietly, his expression unchanged. Only one option truly caught his attention. With confidence, Daesung raised his hand toward the portal, preparing to activate the strongest skill among them. The gang's hideout sat among busy city buildings, unnoticed by the crowd moving through the streets. The boss scoffed while gripping the girl tightly, mocking the idea Daesung would dare confront them. He laughed harder, convinced Daesung wouldn't attack, not here, not when they had the hostage restrained nearby. He assured the others they had the upper hand, dragging the girl toward the back room. Suddenly the lights flickered. Sparks snapped across the ceiling. Something was coming, and it wasn't ordinary police. One thug noticed the flickering lights and muttered, confused, wondering if the bulbs were just broken. Blue lightning coiled along the floor, crackling at his feet before shooting upward with sudden, violent force. He gasped as sparks spread across his legs, a terrifying realization hitting faster than he could react. Screaming in panic, he stumbled back, shouting to the others something unnatural was invading their secure hideout. Then he saw it Daesung, cloaked in lightning, hood raised, face cold and unreadable as power surged. Daesung stepped forward, lightning still dancing around him, grinning coldly. You wanted money? So here I am. Without hesitation, he accessed his skill interface and selected the one he prepared, Shadow Shade Summon. A blue flame burst to life in his palm, dark and powerful, radiating silent intensity outward. He nodded once, confident and calm, whispering to himself that this ability would be more than enough. Dark mist poured from his hand as he activated Shadow Shade's summon. Something terrifying had just begun. Daesung clenched the swirling flame in his palm. It reacted instantly, twisting and leaking black shadows. The summoned energy gushed from his hand, spreading along the ground, forming a growing magical seal. Standing at its center, Daesung remained composed as the energy surged beneath him, activating the summoning ring. Memories of pain flashed what they did to his sister. He tightened his grip, cutting across flesh. Bleeding into the flames, Daesung knelt and commanded, "Follow this blood and carve a path." From the flames, shadowy hands surged upward, clawing violently as they responded to Daesung's blood command. The gang turned in shock as Daesung appeared silently behind them, the girl still held captive. One of them cursed furiously and charged forward, thinking brute strength could stop what was already coming. Daesung shifted slightly, eyes cold, effortlessly dodging the incoming punch with supernatural speed and no wasted movement. Before the attacker could recover, Daesung grabbed his wrist firmly, dark energy beginning to wrap around it. Daesung slammed the attacker into the floor, shadow energy bursting around them as the ground cracked violently beneath. The thug collapsed with a groan, pain and shock flooding his expression, unable to process what happened. The boss staggered back, cursing, his arm enveloped in darkness as Daesung stared at him silently. Breathing heavily, the boss shouted in disbelief, demanding to know if Daesung was one of the awakened. Gagged and frightened, Daesung's sister watched quietly, eyes wide, hope flickering where fear had ruled moments before. Daesung smirked beneath his hood, feigning ignorance. "An awakened one? What's that supposed to mean?" The boss growled in frustration, assuming Daesung was mocking him, and barked orders into the intercom nearby. Inside the building, backup thugs received the command. Attack the awakened intruder without hesitation or questions. One rushed forward with a shout, but Daesung spun smoothly and struck first, his fist connecting hard. The thug hit the ground with a thud, unconscious before he even realized he'd been punched. More gang members flooded the hallway, the leader screaming for them to kill Daesung without hesitation. Unbothered, Daesung stepped forward calmly as multiple attackers rushed him, fists clenched and fury on their faces. The hallway lights flickered wildly, blue sparks flashing across the ceiling as Daesung readied his next move. One thug lunged with a punch, but Daesung tilted slightly, dodging effortlessly before the blow could connect. With a surge of shadows, Daesung countered. His attack struck clean, dark energy ripping through the air. Daesung's aura flared again as he blocked another strike, countering instantly with precise, practiced strength. He drove his elbow into the attacker's ribs, sending him crashing backward with a single clean blow. Another thug shouted in panic, but Daesung didn't flinch. His next punch was already coming with purpose. Shadow tendrils surged behind him as he leapt forward, unleashing a combo that slammed multiple enemies aside. The last man charged blindly only to fall, unconscious, from a powerful blow straight to the chest. Blow after blow landed as Daesung cut through the last of them, lights crackling above furiously. The hallway flickered one last time. Daesung stood among unconscious enemies, breathing steady, eyes locked forward. He stepped past the broken bodies, every step firm until he finally reached his bound sister. Daesung knelt before her, his voice soft but clear, checking if she was injured or scared. She nodded weakly, eyes teary, finally feeling safe now that her brother stood beside her again. She tore off the tape from her mouth, her breathing shaky, but her eyes were steady. Daesung dropped the broken restraints on the floor. "Go home," he said calmly, not turning around. Jisoo stepped forward, hesitant. "Daesung, what are you going to do now?" Her voice was worried. Without looking back, he answered, "I'll be right behind you, once I'm done with some stuff." Jisoo stood frozen for a moment, lips parted, uncertain, but the door behind her began to slide open. Lightning snapped above as Daesung raised his head, eyes steady. He still had unfinished business inside. The fluorescent light buzzed and flickered above, casting a dim pulse over the abandoned hallway below. 5 men lay unconscious in pools of blood, their bodies twisted violently across the tiled floor. The hallway was eerily silent, broken only by the soft creak of a stairwell door opening. A pair of sneakers stepped forward, calm and steady, echoing lightly against the cold steel floor. The figure climbed the stairs with purpose, his hood up, hands pocketed, and deathly silence trailing behind him. The thugs turned around, puzzled by the sudden footsteps. One raised an eyebrow, slightly amused. Daesung lowered his hood, staring coldly. "Ha! Are you guys cockroaches hiding in human skin again?" The gang blinked, confused by the insult. One muttered, "Cockroaches?" while another narrowed his eyes warily. Daesung exhaled. "No matter how many I beat, you pests crawl back. It's honestly exhausting." Suddenly, glass shattered, nearby tension exploded. The street outside echoed with the sharp crack of incoming violence. A phone buzzed violently on the wooden floor, its screen glowing with an incoming call alert. The tattooed man in the bath reached lazily for the phone, irritation already forming on his face. "I told you not to call me when I'm relaxing," he growled, pressing the phone close. The voice on the other end trembled. "Boss, there's trouble. You need to come right away." The boss clenched his jaw. The line went dead. His eyes narrowed, muscles tensing in frustration. The boss crushed the phone in his hand, shards digging into his palm without hesitation. He clenched his teeth, blood dripping, fury building. His pride had been challenged, and that mattered most. Without another word, he stood and stormed out, towel barely wrapped, heading for the exit. The hallway near the stairwell was a mess. His men were down, bloodied, completely defeated. A metal door creaked open nearby, the faint sound of footsteps echoing closer from the next room. Daesung stepped into the convenience store. 2 men froze, eyes widening as they recognized him immediately. He walked forward without a word. The man nearest him stumbled back, voice trembling. "Stay back!" Panic spread. The second thug screamed, turning to flee, but his legs barely responded in time. Daesung's cold gaze narrowed, unwavering. There was no hesitation, no mercy, only swift judgment in his eyes. With a single motion, the wall behind the thug exploded from impact, dust and fragments scattering violently. Daesung turned sharply, eyes locking onto the last thug charging with reckless force and clenched fists. The thug lunged forward with a roar, palm wide open, hoping to catch Daesung off guard. Daesung twisted sideways, dodging cleanly, and countered with a brutal elbow straight into the thug's ribs. The impact launched the thug into his partner, both crashing into shelves with a loud, painful slam. From behind them, a deep voice echoed, "Ha! You sure made a mess, didn't you?" Daesung reflected mid-fight neither his mom nor Jisoo had been shocked when he used powers. Bones cracked beneath his strike. "Where are the rest of your friends?" he asked coldly. He wondered silently, "Are these monsters normal now?" The thought unsettled him more than expected. One thug grabbed his leg. Daesung didn't notice he had been too distracted thinking about everything else. The thug's arm suddenly morphed. Veins bulged, claws grew, and his shirt tore with a loud rip. The mutated thug charged, claws extended. Daesung dodged, narrowly missing a deep slash across his chest. The creature skidded across the tiles, growling, its rage building. Daesung remained still, observing carefully. Red light flared from Daesung's back. So it was all his doing, he muttered to himself. The thug breathed heavily, preparing to strike again. Daesung casually brushed past another bystander without breaking focus. He glanced over calmly. "Are you one of those awakened guys too?" he asked with curiosity. The man snarled, energy flaring. "It's too late for regrets. I'll send you to hell." Daesung raised an eyebrow, confused. "Hell?" he muttered, his expression tightening as tension rose. The thug's muscles exploded in size, transforming into a hulking beast with fists the size of heads. Daesung clenched his fist and launched forward, his punch landing squarely before the beast could react. Blood sprayed. The transformed man staggered, confused and stunned, his mind unable to process the sudden pain. Daesung struck again. "Does it hurt less without clothes?" he asked, voice calm, punch devastatingly direct. The thug slammed into the wall, dazed. Ow! How did he beat me so easily? Blood ran from his mouth. Rage twisted his face. I won't accept this, he shouted, trembling. He charged again, but Daesung moved faster, smashing his fist directly into the man's exposed ribs. Daesung's voice turned sharp. Do you even know what hell is like, asshole? He kept hitting. Daesung's punch landed hard. Turns out you hurt my family a lot while I was gone. The thug reeled, blood flowing. His thoughts spiraled. He's on another level. I need to escape now. Stop! The man screamed, desperation replacing rage. His voice cracked as his strength quickly crumbled. Tears mixed with blood. Spare me, please. If it's money you want, I'll give everything. Daesung stepped forward coldly. Money? He echoed. His voice was low, steady. Where's the money? The thug coughed blood. It's in the safe. Behind that cabinet, he muttered, trembling in fear. Daesung glanced across the room, spotting the cabinet near the shelves and water dispenser without hesitation. He smirked slightly. Really? Well, if you insist. I won't decline, he replied without breaking stride. His footsteps echoed softly as he walked toward the cabinet, calm and certain in his movement. Behind him, the thug began to scramble weakly, summoning the last of his strength for something. Daesung paused. He sensed something off. A quick rustle behind him confirmed the thug had moved. He turned toward the employee. You'll die if you don't go right now as well. Panicked, she shrieked, Eek, I'm sorry, and sprinted out of the room without looking back once. Outside, a car engine revved violently. Tires squealed as someone prepared for a desperate escape. Inside, the thug roared, bloodied and furious. That son of a bitch! I'll kill him and his mom! Daesung leaned close, voice low. I forgot to ask you one thing, the safe's passcode. The thug's eyes widened. How did you? He stammered, caught off guard by Daesung's sudden appearance. Daesung's gaze didn't waver. Doesn't matter where you hide, I can find you anytime, anywhere. Dark energy surged over the thug's body. He screamed as pain tore through him without warning. The car rattled violently as he thrashed inside, his screams echoing from the sealed interior. Daesung stood on the rooftop as the portal opened behind him, humming with quiet energy. Bundles of money dropped from the red portal. He counted silently as they hit the ground. It's a total of 532 million won, he said, eyes fixed on the stacks. He grinned slightly. Pretty sure I can buy a couple of houses in Seoul with this. Daesung walked past a flashy electronics store, drawing curious stares. His clothes looked outdated, but he didn't care. Inside, a salesman eagerly demonstrated the newest foldable phone. Top-tier specs, he said. Daesung only stared silently. The phone flipped open in the man's hand. It's yours for 49 million won, he beamed. Unfazed, Daesung picked up a vibrant purple model. This one's popular with the ladies, the clerk added. Daesung paused, confused. Ladies? The concept felt distant. He had just returned from hell, not a nightclub. The salesman grew nervous, wondering if Daesung found the price too steep for both items. He offered a payment plan, but before finishing his sentence, Daesung's sudden outburst made him flinch. I want it! Give me both! Daesung shouted, eyes locked on the flashy gadgets before him. Without hesitation, he dropped thick stacks of cash on the counter, stunning the salesman into silence. The man grinned wildly. Jackpot, he muttered, quickly correcting himself. Thank you, sir. Daesung quietly inspected his purchase. Daesung's quiet neighborhood bathed in morning light as he prepared for another day in reality. He tapped the delivery box gently. The logo shone his expensive gadgets had arrived safely and fast. Inside his room, he placed the package on the desk, inspecting it with calm interest. A voice called out, Daesung, it's time to eat. But he answered without turning around. I'm going out, he said bluntly. His mother looked confused. What? Where? She asked in concern. She entered his room, expecting a reply, but it was empty, his presence already long gone. Puzzled, she glanced at the clock. Oh my, when did he leave? She muttered quietly. Meanwhile, Daesung walked through the evening city, surrounded by lights, noise, and unfamiliar modern streets. He arrived at a bustling restaurant, glancing around carefully before stepping through the glowing front doors. Inside, someone waved from a corner table. "Daesung, over here!" they called over sizzling food. Daesung raised a finger casually, his expression calm. He looked more confident than ever before. The man across him stared in disbelief. He's completely different from the hospital, he thought silently. Their food sizzled on the grill, filling the space with heat, oil, and rising aroma. They raised their glasses and toasted together. "Cheers!" The tension slowly began to melt between them. After a sip, the man leaned forward. "So, what's your plan now?" he asked, curious. Daesung took a sip, hesitated, then answered quietly, "Not sure." His thoughts remained unfocused, unsettled. His friend leaned in. "We're not kids anymore, middle school's gone." Daesung responded, "Ah, that's good." While chewing, Daesung suddenly asked, "How tall of a building can I buy with 500 million won?" Surprised, the man replied, "Do you even have that kind of money?" Daesung just kept chewing. Grinning, the man answered, "That might cover a small apartment lease on Seoul's outskirts if you're lucky." Daesung looked down, thinking hard. "Then how much for an apartment in central Seoul?" he asked. The man took a drink before answering, "I'd say 2 billion won, maybe even more." He leaned forward, serious. "Daesung, get a grip. The world changed while you were unconscious." Daesung stayed quiet, gulped his drink, and tried to process the weight of those words slowly. He exhaled. "Ah." The meal sizzled beside them, but his thoughts now cooked something far deeper. The man glanced up from the grill. "I heard from your mother," he said carefully. He paused, letting the food cook. "She told me you might have awakened," he added quietly. Daesung looked straight ahead. "Well, I need to know what an awakening is before I answer." The man chuckled, nodding. "Ah, I suppose you wouldn't know even if you did awaken." Outside, the city glowed under dusk. Daesung's world had returned, but everything felt unfamiliar and new. Han Daesung stood outside the agency, briefed by a government official on strange monster movements downtown. The officer, worried and tense, warned Daesung that multiple rift anomalies were forming again without explanation. From the sky, dozens of monstrous beings fell clawed, armored, and roaring directly into Seoul's financial district below. Citizens screamed and scattered while hunters engaged. Chaos erupted as buildings shattered and fire split the street. Daesung arrived too late. The bodies of comrades scattered, his clenched fists trembling with guilt and rage. Daesung questioned the officer, stunned that even modern weapons couldn't leave a scratch on the invaders. The agent confirmed grimly bullets, missiles, even bombs were ineffective, leaving humans nearly powerless in direct conflict. After countless failed counterattacks, the agency discovered only aura-forged weapons harmed the monsters' warped, unnatural bodies. These aura weapons, created from monster remnants, could only be wielded by enhanced warriors called the Awakened. Looking Daesung in the eye, the agent declared calmly, "You are one of them and awakened." Daesung flipped his phone lazily, musing over the officer's words about sharing a rare ability. The officer raised an eyebrow, surprised by Daesung's focus on gadgets during such a tense conversation. Daesung smirked, proudly showing his foldable phone, clearly amused while the agent frowned at his priorities. Flames suddenly flickered from Daesung's hand, his aura reacting instinctively, prompting the agent to mutter, "Dumbass!" with irritation. The agent explained calmly, using aura to enhance the body alone marked true awakened potential. The officer noted Daesung's rapid physical development and recent street fight victory, further confirming his awakened status. Daesung tilted his head, curious if becoming an awakened one included any actual salary or rewards. The officer sighed deeply, clearly unamused by the question, struggling to keep the conversation serious and focused. Frustrated, he yelled, "Are you kidding me?" Catching nearby attention as Daesung remained unfazed and calm. Daesung, half-jokingly, asked about payment again, just as a loud crack echoed suddenly from the surrounding street. Without warning, the sky cracked open as a dark rift tore reality above the crowded street. Daesung instinctively pulled his companion back, both startled as the air vibrated with growing, unstable pressure. A massive, swirling gate exploded open midair, drawing gasps as its fiery rim pulsed with energy. From within, monstrous figures emerged, snarling and armored, their red eyes locking onto the screaming crowd. Panic erupted. Civilians fled in every direction while someone shouted in fear, "Ah, a gate! They're coming!" One massive beast landed first, shaking the ground with a crushing stomp that split nearby pavement tiles. Towering above the others, its glowing red eyes scanned forward as more monsters marched behind it. The heavy door burst open, and a monstrous blue arm slammed into the ground with force. Dozens of hulking beasts stomped forward in sync, their massive feet pounding against the metal floor rhythmically. Their numbers kept growing, an endless wave of muscle and menace descended down the corridor without pause. Watching nervously, the humans stood frozen, their smiles fading as the monster's steps grew louder and closer. With a unified, thunderous roar, the creatures announced their arrival, rage erupting from every mouth and muscle. Panic exploded through the crowd as monstrous roars echoed, people screamed and scattered in every direction. One young man clenched his fists, staring at the rift. "A gate fracture out of nowhere?" His eyes narrowed. "What are those ugly monsters?" he muttered, shielding the boy behind him protectively. "They're different from the ones in hell," he thought grimly, his body already shifting into readiness. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, tightened his shoes, and prepared himself to fight whatever was coming. With a calm voice, Daesung asked, "Shall we test it?" The others stared, confused and silent. Without waiting, he dashed forward, eyes locked on the enemy, confidence clear in his swift movements. Daesung grabbed the monster mid-charge, spun with force, and hurled it into the air without hesitation. The creature crashed into the ground violently, impact shaking the area, its body unmoving from the strike. Daesung glanced sideways, puzzled. "What is that?" Something unfamiliar had caught his attention beyond the chaos. A new monster emerged from the gate, steam rising off its muscular frame, glowing with hostile energy. Its red eyes flared with rage, low growl vibrating through the air as it stared ahead. Behind him, a man shouted, "I told you! Not even guns and cannons work against them!" Han Daesung watched calmly as the creature's heavy stomps shook the ground, approaching with fierce determination. With a deafening roar, the beast charged forward, aiming straight for the group without slowing down. The man screamed in fear, convinced it was the end as the monster closed in fast. Before panic fully consumed him, blood splattered across his face, but it wasn't his. He blinked in confusion, realizing something had changed. The monster didn't reach him. Something had stopped it. Daesung stood tall, fist dripping red, having knocked the creature down with a single clean blow. Shocked, the man muttered, "No way! He only used his bare hands to defeat that thing." More monsters roared and charged down the corridor. Daesung stood alone, calmly waiting for them to strike. The first beast lunged forward, claws raised, but Daesung met it head-on without fear or hesitation. A brutal punch landed square on the monster's jaw, blood and teeth spraying from the impact. He moved quickly, slamming another creature into the ground, each strike echoing like thunder across the battlefield. One observer, bleeding and stunned, gasped, "Did he awaken beyond B rank?" His voice trembled with disbelief. Wiping his bloody face, the man muttered, "Ah, now's not the time for admiring." He turned quickly, eyes scanning the city skyline as more monsters poured in from every direction. One hulking creature leapt down from above, crashing near a group of panicked civilians trying to escape. Terrified people whispered among themselves, "They're everywhere! We're all going to die if this keeps up!" The man shouted, "Don't worry, everyone! I know a way to get to the shelter through the sewer." The man raised his arm and yelled, "Follow me!" urging the frightened crowd into swift action. Behind them, more monsters approached, their thunderous stomps growing louder as they rushed in without hesitation. He glanced back at the sound, sweat dripping, realizing they had even less time than expected. One massive beast raised its arm and swung, cutting through the air with terrifying speed and strength. Screams erupted, children cried, people stumbled. Chaos surged as the crowd desperately tried to flee impending death. The monsters roared and charged faster, sensing weakness as the crowd broke into frightened, scattered groups. A child cried out, reaching for her mother, but the crowd's panic pushed them apart violently. People screamed as monsters attacked from both sides. "Save me!" one man shouted before being struck. One beast rushed ahead, eyes locked on the small girl now completely separated from the others. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she stood frozen, calling out again, "Mommy! Mommy!" in desperation. A monster lunged with full force, smashing its fist into the ground and sending rubble flying everywhere. The injured man lay groaning, watching the creature approach. He couldn't move fast enough to escape. The monster's growl deepened. It raised its fist again, aiming to end the man in seconds. Suddenly, a powerful blow struck the monster's face, knocking it sideways before it could finish the strike. From the crowd, someone yelled, "Daesung!" realizing who had delivered the punch that saved him just in time. Daesung landed between the monster and the crowd, body low, eyes locked on the next threat. The injured man looked up. Daesung spoke coldly. "Still a busybody. You're in my way, leave now." Understanding, the man nodded while holding the girl close. He knew Daesung could handle the rest alone. Turning to the others, he shouted, "Everyone, to the sewer! There's no time left to wait!" From the rooftops and buildings, people could hear his cry again, "Hurry!" echoing through the darkened city streets. A phone streamed live footage. "Damn!" the cameraman muttered, zooming in on the chaos outside. Daesung fought alone, flipping monsters mid-air and slamming them down as dust and energy burst outward. Viewers flooded the stream with comments, some shocked, some laughing, others amazed by Daesung's solo battle stance. The streamer nervously updated viewers. "He's down again! He's surrounded by monsters! This is getting really dangerous now!" Daesung faced more beasts, eyes steady as stomps closed in. The battle wasn't over, not yet. "But bro! Behind you!" the cameraman screamed, panic taking over as a monster lunged at Daesung's back. Without looking, Daesung spun around and struck hard, sending a shockwave through the enemy's twisted form. The monster flew through the air and smashed into the ground, shaking the street on impact. The cameraman stared wide-eyed, mouth open, overwhelmed by what he had just witnessed live in person. Meanwhile, Daesung landed near a parked car, crouched and steady, preparing for the next incoming threat. Viewers online reacted wildly. "Is he dead? Was that suicide?" Confusion and shock filled the chat. Daesung stayed silent, eyes focused, his breath steady. He had no intention of dying today. Below the street, a sewer entrance waited, quiet, dark, and prepared for desperate survivors to enter. A woman spotted her daughter. "Hayoung!" she screamed, heart racing as tears welled in her eyes. The girl ran through shallow water, yelling, "Mommy!" as they finally reunited inside the dark tunnel. The mother held Hayoung tightly, sobbing. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, overwhelmed with guilt and relief. One man turned to he and asked, "Are you really going back out there?" He remained silent for a moment, then nodded with resolve. He wasn't finished with the fight yet. Guttural stomps echoed through the city street as monstrous blue creatures advanced toward the lone figure. Daesung crouched low, tense and silent, locking eyes with the towering beast approaching with murderous intent. The monster growled, muscles bulging, its breath hot and heavy as it sized up its trembling opponent. Inside the bar, a woman watched the scene unfold calmly, noting the odds stacked against him. A bloodthirsty roar erupted as the beast lunged, claws outstretched. Daesung's true challenge had finally begun. A gust of wind ripped through the battlefield as Daesung launched forward, fists clenched with force. A bystander screamed in panic, watching helplessly as her brother was nearly torn apart by the creature. Daesung struck hard, sending the monstrous enemy flying backward, shattering the pavement beneath its massive crashing body. The second monster widened its eyes, stunned by the sudden blow that disabled its comrade in seconds. Steam curled around Daesung's body as he turned slowly, locking eyes with the remaining monster without fear. Daesung leapt into the air, twisting mid-air and delivering a crushing blow across the monster's head. The young man watched in awe, eyes wide as he realized Daesung survived and was still fighting. Daesung landed lightly, smirking as he clenched his fist. His energy had started to return at last. Bloodied but calm, he raised his fingers, declaring he'd eliminate the remaining monsters swiftly, one by one. Without hesitation, Daesung dashed forward, legs blurring with speed, ready to slice through his enemies once again. Daesung jumped in between the monsters, landing heavy blows as his movements were streamed to online viewers. Viewers flooded the chat with reactions, complaints, praise, and demands for a better view of the action. The streamer gritted his teeth, yelling back in frustration, overwhelmed by the chaos and reckless audience pressure. A massive donation alert popped up. Someone offered 5 million won for a clearer view of Daesung. Eyes wide, he gasped at the bonus promise, realizing the fight could make him incredibly rich tonight. Despite the promised reward, the streamer gulped hard, realizing money wasn't worth dying over right now. He panicked, seeing Daesung face an overwhelming wave of muscular monsters roaring and charging without hesitation. Daesung narrowed his eyes, dashing forward again, aware that his mana was draining faster than he'd expected. He twisted through an incoming blow, launching a fierce counterattack that knocked the monster sideways into rubble. Another beast lunged, only to catch Daesung's full punch to the face, its jaw shattered from the impact. A devastating strike crushed the monster's skull, blood splattering as Daesung's brutal counterattack left no mercy. The livestream feed glitched from shock and movement, but donations continued pouring in without slowing down. A mysterious donor whispered through chat, offering extra rewards for anyone who uncovered Daesung's personal details. The streamer froze, staring wide-eyed at the screen, tempted by curiosity and the lure of more money. Notification after notification buzzed through. Viewers were hooked, and donations exploded, flooding the screen without any pause. Panicked, the streamer shouted at his audience, refusing to get closer despite the growing pressure online. A new message buzzed, and a powerful donor promised a massive reward for detailed information on Daesung. Stunned, he yelled the number aloud, barely believing someone would offer 20 million won for this. Far away, inside a high-rise corporate tower, executives monitored the stream, watching the battle unfold carefully. One calmly reported progress to a superior, stating the payment was sent, and more would follow soon. Inside a corporate office, the executive nodded, confirming enough resources had been sent to provoke action. An analyst added that their clan members were also moving, ready to coordinate if needed nearby. Another scout expressed disbelief, saying he'd never seen anyone like this before, not even in top ranks. Meanwhile, Daesung stepped off the corpse of a slain monster, its blood pooling across the street. The remaining monsters stared, eyes wide, realizing the real threat wasn't their numbers, but the lone man. Daesung smirked as he observed the monsters' hesitation, realizing they were starting to fear him now. Suddenly, one of the monsters lunged, but he struck it down mid-charge without blinking an eye. The others growled low, backing away while watching Daesung's calm stance amid their fallen comrades' broken remains. Their leader stepped forward, baring his fangs with a deep growl, signaling the start of retaliation. From behind the camera, the streamer whispered desperately, driven by money, begging Daesung to face him briefly. Daesung stood firm over the corpse, thinking this fight could be a life-changing opportunity. A new wave of monsters charged in, their leader roaring as the ground shook beneath them. Daesung gritted his teeth, overwhelmed by their numbers, knowing his mana reserves were nearly gone. He turned sharply, shouting at the streamer who was still filming instead of running for safety. Startled by the command, the streamer yelped and dropped the camera, fear finally overtaking greed. A man dragged the streamer off the street, yelling at him for risking everything over filming. The camera hit the pavement, the stream glitching while viewers speculated about his fate in chat. Still dazed, the streamer hesitated until his rescuer insisted they find shelter before it was too late. Reality hit the donations, the opportunity gone. He stared in panic, watching his camera lying helplessly behind. Cursing loudly, he ran with the man, torn between survival and the money slipping from reach. A heavy footstep landed behind them, shaking the ground as a monstrous figure closed the distance. Both men turned in fear, faces pale, realizing they were now directly in the monster's path. The beast growled, raising a massive club, its glowing eyes locked onto the panicked, fleeing pair. The suited man pulled the streamer forward, shouting at him to stay focused and keep moving. With a roar, the monster swung its weapon down, aiming to crush anything in its way. A blur cut through the air. Daesung's strike landed squarely, slamming the monster's head to pulp. The beast's body dropped with a dull thud, twitching once before falling still among its kind. The suited man looked up, stunned, sweat dripping down as the sudden silence settled in. He turned and saw the battlefield piles of defeated monsters with Daesung calmly standing over them. Daesung glanced back, smirking faintly as he said, "Nice shot," his voice cool and composed. Inside the restaurant, Chanho returned unexpectedly. The others questioned his decision to come back so soon. Chanho replied simply he was worried, but Daesung had plans and needed someone to guard the place. He told them he'd be gone 20 minutes, expecting the arriving clans to handle any threats. Before anyone could ask more, Daesung cut them off and urged them to wait for answers. A system screen appeared before him. Confirming his transition was ready, he tapped yes without hesitation. Daesung activated the portal with a focused gaze, stepping calmly into the swirling red vortex below. Chanho watched in stunned silence, unable to understand how Daesung possessed such power to open gates. The summoning circle flared beneath Han Daesung's feet as he stepped into Earth's fractured battlefield. His figure emerged through the glowing portal, energy pulsing violently around him, hell's power leaking into this world. Glancing around, Daesung scoffed, irritated. "I can't believe I exerted this much against a couple of guys." "Hey, tell me my MP status," he said casually, as Golden Light responded with a system ping, only 10% usable. Daesung frowned, muttering, "Then tell me how to increase MP as quickly as possible." A system alert chimed, "Systematize the Absolute Being's recorded journal." The air vibrated with silent expectation. It continued, "Once journal is systematized, quests begin. Complete each quest to receive proper rewards in return." Daesung blinked, realization dawning. "Journal? You mean the one I wrote in back in hell?" Memories returned those endless days of survival, recording thoughts to remain sane in that burning abyss. He exhaled and nodded. Yes. The journal's glow intensified, preparing to become a roadmap of conquest. The red notebook floated mid-air, sparking violently. Energy surged as the system latched onto Daesung's memories. A circular interface emerged, beginning systemization. Light flickered as the journal prepared to transform into mission data. Daesung stood ready. Lightning streaked around him as the journal spun, drawing in residual aura from battle. The notebook hovered higher, encased in power. His own past writings now began forming structured, objective paths. A final message flashed, beginning imprinting. The journal glowed fiercely, syncing with Daesung's body, mind, and soul. Flashes of Daesung's past battles surged, every flame, scream, and enemy etched deeply into his memories. His eyes glowed white. Energy pulsed violently as synchronization between journal and body neared its final stage. Imprinting complete. The system confirmed it. Sparks scattered, and the journal's glow dimmed in quiet finality. Daesung cracked his neck. Whew, that felt pretty nasty. The transfer of mental strain slowly faded away. He looked toward the light. Page 13, Forest of Predators. Back to where it began, huh? The system activated, recreating page 13, year 5, day 7. Data flowed into dimensional space. Daesung emerged into swirling fog, arriving back in the designated location, the Forest of Predators' outskirts. Meanwhile, far from the battlefield, a pork BBQ house stood quietly under the evening sky. Inside, 2 men descended the stairs, their attention drawn by something unusual they had just seen. One leaned closer, frowning. "Does this guy know the dude who was fighting solo out there?" The server approached nervously. "Excuse me, where did that hero guy go to?" he asked cautiously. The man in the suit cut him off sharply. Why? Someone paying you for his photo? Caught off guard, the server hesitated. He had no answer, only curiosity etched across his face. A distant roar shook the building. Without hesitation, the man turned toward the stairwell, urgency rising fast. There might be survivors on the roof, so follow me quietly, he ordered, already ascending the stairs. Han Daesung's phone buzzed sharply as he walked through the corridor, a strange tension rising fast. He swiftly pulled out his phone, instincts kicking in. Danger always followed unexpected messages like this one. A system alert popped up. The portal opening was ahead of schedule. Daesung must execute suppression immediately. Hurry, Daesung, he muttered, gripping his arm tightly as heat surged through his awakening veins. Wind howled as he arrived, black feathers circling a rift yawned wide. Hell's creatures spilled into earth. A divine alert rang out. The protocol of revelation had been activated across the dimensional boundary. Han Daesung glanced around, eyes sharp. The silence surrounding him felt unnatural, warning of an ambush. Another system message listed objectives and rewards, proof a powerful entity had already entered the battlefield unnoticed. The sky tore open. From within the mist, a hulking shadow shrieked, wings stretching wide above. Red sensors glowed. The machine-like voice announced, "Unidentified interferer detected. Eliminating target." Daesung braced for impact. A blinding beam shot forth, tearing across the sky. Daesung narrowly dodged the incoming energy blast. The impact rocked the ground. Flames erupted as debris scattered, masking the enemy's position behind smoke. Daesung dashed low and fast, evading secondary strikes. His boots scraped as he braked hard on concrete. The dust began to clear. Mechanical creaking echoed as a strange airborne figure descended from above. Facing the unknown enemy, Daesung tightened his stance. His next move would decide who walks away. System analysis confirmed the enemy. A white colossus mechanical weapon designed by ancient heavenly forces. Daesung muttered in disbelief. Heavenly rulers? While processing the new data flashing before his eyes. Without warning, the colossus lunged forward, limbs slicing the air with blinding speed toward his position. The creature's massive strike cratered the ground. Daesung barely avoided being crushed beneath its metallic weight. The machine's body whirred menacingly as Daesung rushed forward, charging his fist for a counterattack. I don't have much time, Daesung thought. I need to end this quickly, no holding back. He launched forward, energy trailing his fist, aiming a full-powered strike at the colossus's armored chest. The hit connected feathers and plating shattered as mechanical joints splintered beneath the sudden, overwhelming impact force. The white colossus staggered backward violently, its frame losing balance, circuits sparking under the critical system damage. Daesung landed firmly, eyes locked on his enemy, preparing for the next move without losing momentum. The colossus reset its posture, mechanical limbs clicking back into place as it readied another assault. It extended both arms, sweeping wide with deadly speed, forcing Daesung to react instantly under pressure. Black tendrils cut through the air toward him, smoke swirling as Daesung stood calmly in place. So annoying, he muttered, eyes narrowing. I'll just have to charge through and crush it completely. With explosive force, he launched himself forward, feet kicking off the cracked earth, aiming straight at its core. Daesung burst through the smoke, crashing into the colossus's chest, landing a heavy blow dead center. The machine reeled from the impact but countered fast, its arms swinging wide, launching multiple high-speed strikes. He leaned back, dodging one strike, then ducked under the next, eyes locked onto the target. With perfect timing, Daesung delivered a sharp hook to its side, armor cracking under his focused power. The force threw the colossus into the rubble, its body twisting midair as systems sparked wildly. The colossus's frame gave way, crumbling in smoke and sparks as the battle reached its end. Its massive body slammed into the ground, scattering debris while steam hissed from its shattered core. Daesung skidded to a halt, turning back to confirm the mechanical giant was truly disabled. With a calm breath, he muttered, "Next," already sensing something else stirring beyond the battlefield. A glowing red sphere hovered silently, pulsing with energy, an unknown signal rising from the destruction. Outside the pork BBQ house, The night was quiet, too quiet for a city still recovering. One man slowly pushed the door open, the creaking hinge echoing louder than it should have. They stepped into the alley and froze. Blood pooled beneath motionless bodies scattered across the ground. His eyes widened in shock as realization hit this wasn't a robbery. Something else had arrived first. The courtyard was a blood-soaked battlefield. Broken bodies scattered, silent under the eerie stadium lights. One man, drenched in blood, struggled to stay upright, breath ragged, clutching his side in pain. Two uniformed students stood frozen, eyes wide, one whispering, That person over there! He's still alive!" Without hesitation, the student dashed forward, urgency in his stride, determined to help the wounded survivor. Kneeling beside him, he asked gently, "Are you all right?" The man groaned, barely conscious but still breathing. The injured man choked on blood, straining to speak. "But behind!" he rasped through gritted teeth. Confused, the student leaned closer, unsure of the urgency in the dying man's desperate, broken whisper. The survivor forced one last cry, pointing weakly. "Behind!" Blood dripped steadily from his trembling hand. The student froze. His eyes widened as dread climbed his spine, sensing something massive right behind. A monstrous figure emerged from the shadows, red eyes glowing. The student swallowed hard, unable to move. The creature growled deeply, baring its fangs, its red eyes locked onto the students with rising fury. "Should we move him quickly?" one asked, glancing nervously at the injured man lying in their care. "No, don't move a muscle until I say," the leader muttered, sensing the beast's gaze without turning. "Huh? What did you—" the boy began, but stopped, startled by the sudden dread in his gut. The monster snarled, lips curled in bloodlust. It crouched, ready to pounce on its unsuspecting, frozen prey. "Keep it together," he ordered calmly. "When I say now, run straight toward the exit gate. Unless you want to die here," he warned, "I suggest you get a hold of yourself." The boy nodded quickly, fear gripping his chest as the monster's roar shook the rooftop around them. The beast launched into the air, its massive body casting a shadow as it soared toward them. "Now!" the leader shouted, eyes locked on the monster, adrenaline surging as their narrow window to escape opened. Deep within the forest of predictors, a red orb buzzed violently, releasing waves of unstable energy. Han Daesung narrowed his eyes at the flashing orb. "What the hell is that thing?" Electricity crackled as the orb hissed, emitting light. A system voice announced, "Initiating self-regeneration protocol. Stand by." "Regeneration," Daesung muttered, stepping back cautiously as the red sphere pulsed stronger, data streams forming in the air. The orb displayed, "Regeneration progress 15%. Ding. Analyzing exhaustion status. Ding. Compiling solutions. Ding. Preparing structural performance overhaul." Han Daesung leapt forward, muscles tight and focused, aiming directly at the core of the orb. He clenched his fist mid-air, twisting his body downward, preparing to strike with full, focused force. His punch landed dead center on the orb's surface, sending a shockwave of energy into the ground. The impact caused the orb to shudder violently. Lightning surged as Daesung flipped backward through thick smoke. As he landed, the orb pulsed wildly, red light flashing, energy output increasing with a loud vroom. Daesung landed firmly atop the orb's surface, energy crackling beneath his feet as pressure surged upward. A loud ding echoed. Text flashed. "Regeneration progress 30%. The orb pulsed brighter, heat distorting the air. Electricity snapped around him. He frowned, fists sparking. "Tisk, so bothersome," he muttered, preparing for another strike. With one swift motion, Daesung spun and slammed his fist again, sending a deep shockwave outward. Whack! His follow-up strike landed clean, shaking the core violently. The regeneration sequence wavered under sheer force. Daesung's repeated strikes echoed across the battlefield. The orb's screen displayed, "Regeneration progress, 40%. His fists pounded the surface. A loud crack formed, jagged and deep, shaking the orb violently. He didn't stop. Another double-fisted blow landed hard, splitting the surface as sparks erupted in waves. The orb blinked. "Regeneration progress, 55%. It vibrated uncontrollably under the sheer stress of his attacks. Fractures spread across the core. Despite damage, it climbed to regeneration progress 65%, still desperately restoring itself. System alerts blared wildly. Error! Red warnings filled the air as the orb's regeneration spiraled into chaos. Daesung crashed down again, delivering a brutal strike. The surface fractured, flashing errors with every cracking hit. "Just die already!" he shouted, lightning coursing through his arm, ready to end the process for good. Suddenly, a beam of red energy zipped toward him, slicing through the air with lethal speed. He twisted midair, barely dodging the beam. His eyes sharpened. This orb wasn't done fighting just yet. Daesung's eyes narrowed, sensing something shift. A low mechanical hum buzzed through the air around him. From the thick mist, robotic figures emerged, metal creaking with every movement, their red eyes flashing coldly. Electricity danced across Daesung's body as he turned slowly, instantly recognizing the danger he was facing. The machines advanced in perfect formation, each stomp shaking the ground with growing intensity and menace. Without hesitation, a red beam shot toward him again, faster this time, aiming to end everything instantly. A red beam shot past Daesung, scorching the ground. He moved instantly, dodging without hesitation. He launched into a high leap, narrowly avoiding the blast zone that erupted beneath his feet. Mid-air, he twisted his body and flipped, letting another beam zip just beneath his back. Landing hard, he skidded across broken tiles, legs bracing the momentum, sparks flying around him. "Damn!" he growled, breath sharp, eyes scanning the field. More enemies were coming. He had little time. The orb's screen blinked urgently. Regeneration progress, 95%. It was nearly fully restored. Time was running out. Daesung darted forward with full speed, pushing off the cracked ground, eyes locked on his target. Mechanical soldiers reacted fast, raising weapons. Red flashes burst forward, beams slicing the air toward him. Daesung dodged incoming fire mid-run, sprinting across broken tiles as explosions lit up behind his path. Ahead, the orb glowed fiercely. Lasers zipped around it. Without slowing, Daesung leapt directly into the storm. Daesung gritted his teeth mid-air, channeling power into his strike. This had to be the end. The orb's screen flashed. Regeneration progress, 98%. Just a few more seconds and it would complete. Wham! His attack landed directly on target, piercing through the weakened surface with thunderous explosive force. Kaboom! A massive explosion erupted, sending shockwaves and debris flying. Nearby machines stumbled in the violent blast. Daesung hit the ground hard, skidding through the rubble as smoke and flames engulfed the battlefield. Daesung clenched his fists, staring at the battlefield. There's no end at this rate, he thought. I need to find another way, he realized, scanning for answers while fire raged behind him. His eyes narrowed. Do I have to look through my imprinted memories? The solution is there. He pressed fingers to his head. Electricity surged. Ugh, my brain itches, he muttered through clenched teeth. Feels gross. Tisk. A sharp jolt struck him. Suddenly his eyes flashed red. Something inside had awakened. Daesung's eyes lit up. I remember now, he muttered, a grin forming. This just might work. As sirens echoed, Daesung shouted, "Head for the door!" while dragging his trembling friend behind him. Behind them, a monstrous beast crashed through debris, howling with rage, its glowing claws slicing the night air. With no time to hesitate, Daesung lunged forward, barely avoiding the ground-shattering impact behind him. The creature roared again, bullets bouncing off its hide, while the two boys sprinted across the empty park. Each thunderous stomp grew louder. Daesung turned slightly, its snarling face was getting closer with every breath. The beast lunged with terrifying speed. Daesung froze, barely dodging as claws sliced through the air. Its attack shattered the ground beside them. Both boys collapsed from the shock, narrowly escaping death again. Breathing heavily, Daesung pulled his friend upright. "Keep moving!" he panted, eyes scanning for any escape path. Behind them, the monster's claws scraped the floor, slow and deliberate, hunting them like cornered prey. Daesung pushed his friend through the door and braced himself, determined to block the creature if needed. Daesung caught his breath, sweat dripping. "We should head down for now," he said, voice shaking slightly. Suddenly the ceiling exploded. The monster burst through the floor above, landing hard with blinding dust and debris. Two new monsters charged forward, stomping and swiping, clearly faster, stronger, and even more aggressive than before. Daesung jumped aside, narrowly evading a clawed strike. Wind roared as the creature's swipe missed by inches. Rolling mid-air, Daesung countered with a dive, dodging again as blades of wind cut through concrete walls. Daesung whispered to himself, "Just a little more," as he dashed forward with all his strength. He leapt through the smoke-filled hallway, wind rushing past as rubble collapsed behind him with thunderous force. Touching ground briefly, Daesung launched off again, his movement fluid and fast, evading whatever chased close behind him. Through the thick mist, he soared upward, gaining height, but danger still lingered just beyond his view. His eyes widened as he spotted something unexpected ahead. Whatever it was, it changed everything instantly. He focused his balance mid-air, arms wide, preparing to land as the sky thundered around him. Daesung hit the ground hard, then sprinted forward again. Behind him, enemies surged with violent speed. Sliding to a halt, he turned sharply, ready for whatever force was coming through the thick smoke. He rose to his feet quickly, exhaling. Dust surrounded him, and the enemy's footsteps grew louder. Daesung stood tall, fists clenched, as towering beasts emerged through smoke. His eyes narrowed without a word. The armored soldiers stomped forward, their synchronized steps breaking the ground with every precise mechanical movement. Emerging from the dust, they formed formation unshaken, silent, their glowing visors locked onto Daesung's position, one aimed directly at him, confirming range. "Firing range from target secured. Commencing attack," it announced coldly. Daesung smirked, raising his hand. "Too late, assholes," he muttered, flicking his fingers without hesitation. The ground cracked beneath the nearest soldier's foot, an ominous sign that something massive had just activated. A deep rumble spread beneath the soldiers' feet. They staggered, momentarily confused by the trembling earth. Daesung grinned sharply and declared, "This is the forest of predators," as the ground cracked open violently. With a deafening roar, a monstrous creature erupted from underground, towering above the stunned robotic attackers. The beast struck without hesitation. Its enormous mouth chomped through metal bodies, ending the threat instantly. Daesung watched calmly. "Swamp whale, still got that appetite of yours, I see," he said with satisfaction. Daesung smirked. "Good luck regenerating inside its belly. That thing can digest anything," he muttered confidently. A glowing system screen appeared before him. "You have completed the clear condition," it announced with finality. Another message followed instantly, resetting Absolute Being's physical capabilities. The process had begun to upgrade him further. Energy surged around his body. Daesung stood still as his form glowed, absorbing power from the system. He clenched his fist and smiled. "Let's see, my MP bar definitely increased," he noted calmly. A system alert flashed. "Quest complete. Acquiring bonus reward. Item, Dagger of Judgment, glowing in orange light." Energy gathered at Daesung's waist. "Whoa," he muttered, watching the dagger form through shimmering light and symbols. "Item info, Dagger of Judgment. Converts MP to damage. Highly destructive when thrown accurately," the system declared. Daesung grabbed the hilt firmly. "Remote control, huh?" he said, sensing its response to his focused intent. With a flick, he hurled the dagger. It spun fast, glowing as it sliced through the air. The dagger curved mid-air with precision before returning to Daesung's hand, guided by his mental command. He snatched it smoothly from the air, eyes locked on the glowing blade now humming with energy. Glancing at the weapon, Daesung gave a small nod. "Seems pretty useful," he said to himself. Power gathered again in his palm, energy reacting to the dagger's bond as it synced with him. Looking around one last time, Daesung exhaled and muttered, "I should head back now." Daesung stepped into the glowing portal. Energy swirled around him as the world shifted behind his back. Meanwhile, on a news broadcast, anchors discussed the latest gate disaster and how it sparked massive concern. A professor commented on the recurring crises. The incident in Masan appears to be repeating itself. He continued. Hunters weren't prepared. The association failed to prevent high-risk gate fractures from affecting civilians directly. As they debated responsibility, a lone vehicle sped down the highway, its driver already heading toward the chaos. One hunter laughed, showing the interview on his phone. Ha! Get a load of this nonsense! Frustrated, another slammed his drink down. Are they mad? We don't even earn clan-level pay. The man in uniform added, We're not prophets. How can we react without radar signals? Right, boss? Their leader stayed quiet a moment, then muttered, If we don't fix this, I lose everything. Tension filled the vehicle. The squad knew the pressure, they were running out of time and excuses. A radio report echoed, Association knows it's dangerous, but Daesung apparently helped contain the monsters earlier. The team's eyes widened at the mention of his name, realization flashing across their tense faces. Meanwhile, inside a nearby shelter, one boy asked nervously, Are we sure it's safe up there? The older one replied, That day on the roof, it was chaos. Better wait for rescue. Suddenly, loud crashes and monstrous roars shook the shelter. Both boys froze, terror returning with horrifying clarity. The boy leaned closer and asked, Do you reckon they're hunters? Hope sparked behind his eyes. A loud thump echoed above them. Dust fell. The boys waited, holding their breath in silence. Have the hunters arrived? The suited one asked, his voice low, hoping someone strong was finally outside. Suddenly, powerful impacts thundered down. Explosions and shockwaves rattled everything, the ceiling cracked as dust rained inside. The building shook violently. Both boys ducked under the table, shielding their heads from falling debris above. The boy's voice trembled. Are they monsters? His hands clenched tightly as footsteps echoed closer. Smoke parted. Daesung stepped through the wreckage, annoyed. Assholes! Don't get in the way of a starving man! Blood spread across the floor. The boy's face lit up as he shouted, Daesung! Daesung smirked confidently and replied, I'm not too late, am I? His eyes scanned the ruined shelter. Two colleagues rushed over, alarmed by Daesung's battered state. Dude, what happened? You look wrecked. Daesung winced, clutching his shoulder. He leaned forward with a groan, pain radiating from unseen injuries. One of them stepped closer, eyes wide with concern. Are you hurt? He asked cautiously. Daesung looked up slowly, serious expression unchanged. Yes, he said. Get the grill going now. I'm starving, Daesung declared. The two men froze, dumbfounded, struggling to process his totally unexpected request. Shocked, his friend pointed at the restaurant. You want to eat meat here right now? A grotesque monster's corpse lay outside the BBQ place. You seriously want to eat here? He yelled. Blood trailed across the pavement. Daesung stepped through calmly, ignoring the mess like it meant nothing. He glanced at the blood splatter, shrugged, and muttered, I'm sure it's fine. The others turned pale, nauseated by the smell. They gagged violently, unable to comprehend Daesung's indifference. Boots approached swiftly. One of the survivors turned at the sound, surprised by the soldier's arrival. The soldier scanned the area, lowering his weapon. There are survivors here, he said with relief. Are you all right? He asked. The two civilians stood frozen, still processing the chaos and destruction around. One worker raised both arms, tears welling. We're saved! Thank you so much! Another soldier noticed Daesung calmly eating. Confused, he muttered, What is he doing in this situation? The man saluted the soldiers gratefully. Thank you for your hard work, even this late. We were worried after missing shelter access. I'm just so glad we're safe, he added sincerely. He gestured at Daesung awkwardly. This friend here is acting like this because of shock. The man tried pulling Daesung up. Oh, buddy, let's get you to a hospital. Get checked. A soldier raised his hand. Sir, you can't just leave. He stopped. I almost forgot. He handed over his ID badge. In case my remains are found, please notify them. I think of my clan whenever I'm stuck in this mess, he muttered with resignation. A soldier nodded firmly. Ah, you're part of a clan. Very well, follow me. Thank you, the man replied, heading past the blood-soaked restaurant and down the dark street. From a distance, another man staggered forward. Ha! What the hell? He gasped, shaken by carnage. Hey, asshole! If you've time to puke, check for survivors first! He barked without hesitation. The younger man jolted upright. Yes, sir. Sorry. He quickly regained posture, ashamed and flustered. The man declared, I'm a hunter from the association. Let's move to the inner area together. Watching him leave, one soldier whispered, Who is he? He feels stronger than any monster. Inside the car, the driver spoke gently. You can sleep over at my place tonight. Daesung shook his head. No, my family will worry about me, he replied quietly. His friend chuckled. Dude, you'll be lucky if that's all they do after seeing you. If they see you right now, they'll absolutely pass out, he added, trying to lighten the mood. Daesung hummed and looked away. I'll let your mother know, the friend said, already dialing his phone. Driving through the city lights, he smiled. Shower first, then we eat fried chicken. Deal? Daesung stepped inside, eyes wide. Whoa, he muttered, impressed by the luxurious apartment's clean interior. His friend motioned toward the hallway. Go take a shower. I'll order us some chicken. A feast of crispy fried chicken, pizza, and soda soon filled the coffee table, still steaming. Daesung returned, hair damp, staring at the spread. What is all this? He asked, confused. That fiasco happened while you were having meat, so let's go all out tonight, the man said. While eating, Daesung asked, Back at the barbecue place, you said hunters make a lot, right? His friend stood, smiling knowingly. Ah, they sure do, he replied while grabbing another drink. In this day and age, it sure as hell pays better than any other profession, he added. He leaned back on the couch. At least that's what people say these days. Why? Daesung nodded mid-bite, chewing confidently. Yep, he said simply, already set on his decision to become one. Oh, good choice, his friend said while sipping. You'll definitely get above B rank if assessed. He smiled confidently. There's even a chance you might get A rank. I guarantee it. Daesung looked curious. B rank? A rank? He asked, unfamiliar with how the hunter ranking system actually worked. It's a ranking system. A rank means joining a large clan, earning over 30 million won monthly. Daesung licked his fingers. Is there anything higher than A rank? His friend nodded. I mean, there is. It's called S rank, but there are only 5 of them in the entire world. Out of 2 million awakened ones, only 5 have managed to earn that rank, he explained. He laughed. What, you want to be the 6th S ranker? Forget it, pal. In Korea, even an A rank's path is paved with gold, he added, sipping his drink. Daesung nodded firmly. Yeah. His friend grinned. All right. Then trust me, I'll make you a rising star. Daesung stared into his drink, the thought repeating in his head. A hunter. Somewhere else, lights lit up a towering corporate building as evening settled over the quiet skyline. Inside, elegant doors framed a luxurious room where a formal meeting was already underway. A finely dressed figure sliced into dinner calmly, focused on a document displaying surveillance images. Chewing slowly, she spoke. So you're saying a mad debtor? Her tone grew sharper with interest. The bald man gestured politely. Ah, you may listen while you eat. Help yourself. She tapped her fork on a document. Same with this mad debtor. Turned your operation into crap. The assistant lowered his head, nervous. Yes, he confirmed, sweat forming as the atmosphere tensed. She dabbed her mouth calmly. If that's true, then we have a problem, she said coldly. The man beside her scowled. If you barely survived, then you should have just run away. She stood calmly, asking, Is there a particular reason why your movement list is blank? The man hesitated. We had nowhere else to go, he answered, fear tightening his throat. That makes sense, she replied coldly, since it would be quite embarrassing for a hunter to flee. Her voice softened mockingly. But I have to ask, Why have you been trembling so much? She smiled sharply. Could it be because of your thug boss over there? A corpse lay still. The body lay motionless in a pool of blood, half his torso brutally ripped apart. The subordinate froze, eyes wide, sweat dripping as realization crashed his boss was already gruesomely executed. The restaurant floor was soaked with blood. He stood calmly, while the others trembled in fear. One terrified man dropped to his knees, shaking. Please, just spare my life, he begged desperately. Daesung's cold expression didn't waver. Relax, he muttered. I only want what I was promised, nothing more. He grabbed the man's head slowly. Even if they raided you, something's got to be left, right? Panicked, the man stuttered. I swear I'm nobody. I don't know anything, please believe me. Daesung squinted, pretending to think. A faint smirk formed as he leaned closer to the frightened man. All right, I'll believe you, he said, stepping back casually. The man blinked in disbelief, hope returning briefly. The man stammered, Thank you, tears forming. Relief washed over him as his muscles finally relaxed slightly. Daesung turned away calmly. No need to thank me, he replied, hiding the real intent behind his voice. Without warning, he struck. A brutal blast crushed the man's head, silencing him before another word escaped. Daesung lowered his hand slowly, blood dripping. His face remained calm, unaffected by the brutal execution. A sharp swipe followed. The body collapsed backward, blood streaking the windows, staining the room in silence. He exhaled through his nose and wiped his cheek. Whew, he muttered, barely acknowledging the mess. Turning around, Daesung stepped carefully over the corpse, eyeing the table as if nothing unusual had happened. Holding a paper, he muttered, Get rid of him. His next task had already begun. A silent figure pulled his hood up, eyes sharp. He waited for orders without showing any emotion. No mistakes, Daesung instructed firmly. His tone made it clear. Failure wouldn't be forgiven a second time. Yes, sir, the assassin replied coldly, stepping forward from the shadows. The job was already as good done. Far across the city, sunlight hit a towering glass building marked clearly. Korea Hunter Association headquarters. Han Daesung's target was there. The KHA powerful, guarded, and unaware they were next on the list. Han Daesung arrived outside the Hunter Association building, scanning its towering walls and bustling surroundings with caution. An agent near the car explained, Just head to the lobby and mention the mannequin evaluation. Don't act strange, the agent warned, voice firm. They'll think you're crazy if you slip up. I know, the assassin replied, stepping forward confidently. Behind him, the agent sighed, checking his phone again. Watching him walk away, the agent muttered, Damn, why do I feel nervous for him? Han Daesung approached the building entrance, blending in with the crowd of others waiting for evaluation. Groups chatted nervously nearby, discussing rankings, results, and rumors. No one seemed to recognize the newcomer. Daesung glanced around and thought, I guess these guys are here to get assessed as well. One man nearby muttered, Ugh, so embarrassing. I'm only here because someone said it pays. The assassin stepped forward quietly, annoyed. This is a hassle, he thought, but it must be done. Daesung arrived at exam room 3, where applicants were already gathered and seated, waiting for instructions silently. A staff member handed him a ticket. He glanced down and saw the number 9 printed clearly. Scanning the room, he noted the full seats. Everyone was quiet but visibly tense with anticipation. He thought, Hunter, I guess it's pretty popular. But being number 9, it shouldn't take long. As he waited, his pocket buzzed. A message had arrived, possibly changing everything about today's test. A message popped up from his mom, asking when he'd return home. She sounded tired. Daesung read the text quietly and thought, I probably shouldn't tell her where I really am. Daesung began typing a reply, careful to sound casual while hiding the truth behind his whereabouts. He sent the message, Still at Chanho's, I'll wash up, then head back later tonight. Another buzz followed. She replied warmly, telling him Jisoo bought soup. He stared, quietly appreciating her care. Daesung smiled at the message, quietly amused. Pfft. I guess I should hurry back soon. The exam room door opened with a mechanical sound. A staff member stepped out to call. She glanced at her clipboard. "Number 9, please stand by," she announced calmly across the hall. Inside, someone shouted in frustration. "What the F asterisk asterisk K? I'm not awakened? That's impossible, I definitely am." The examiner replied firmly, "You tested negative on our device." But the applicant wasn't ready to accept it. The bald applicant yelled, "That machine's broken! I've told you, this is all messed up." Spectators sighed. One muttered, "Come on, man, just leave. There's a line behind you." "See this? My hair vanished overnight. How's that not awakening?" he shouted, veins bulging with desperation. Others chuckled quietly. The assassin groaned internally. Of course, this guy had to go right before me. Daesung exhaled slowly, thinking, Mom and Jisoo are probably waiting with the hot soup by now. The bald man raised his voice again. "I'll file a complaint straight to the branch head." Suddenly, someone tapped his shoulder. He froze instantly, surprised that anyone dared to interrupt his angry rant. Turning sharply, he barked, "Who the hell?" only to pause as tension thickened behind him. The assassin stood silently, shadows rising from him. "Do you not see the line, sir?" Eyes wide, the bald man swallowed hard. All confidence vanished. "Gulp," was all he could manage. The bald man mumbled, No, it's just, the machine's broken. I know I'm awakened." The assassin stepped forward calmly. "Are you sure the device is broken?" he asked, voice flat. A staff member interjected, "Let me verify. I'm an awakened one myself," walking toward the device confidently. All eyes followed him. The assassin, bald man, and officials stood silently as tension filled the room. Daesung placed his hand on the orb. Sparks ignited instantly, reacting sharply to the awakened energy. The orb hummed as energy surged through it. Everyone watched as light pulsed steadily under his touch. A clear ding echoed. The orb turned green, confirming a valid reading, accurate and undeniable. The man stated, "Green, I'm C rank. As you can see, the machine's working just fine." The bald applicant's confidence cracked. Well, he stammered, sweat forming as eyes turned toward him with judgment. A staffer stepped in. "Others are waiting behind you. Please go back quietly," she said firmly. The bald man backpedaled quickly. I was just mistaken, that's all," he shouted, while retreating awkwardly. The staffer sighed and turned to the next applicant. "I'm sorry about what happened just now," she added. "You may go in now." The assassin gave a simple nod and stepped forward silently. A staff member nearby whispered, "Sir, do you think he'll get a high rank or not?" The supervisor scowled. "Stop getting distracted. Get back to work," he snapped, flicking her forehead without hesitation. The staffer replayed the moment in her head. That intimidating aura, strong and unmistakably threatening, still lingered mentally. "If he really is awakened," she thought, gripping her clipboard, "he's definitely above B rank at least." The Korean Hunter Association Tower gleamed under sunlight, housing secrets behind its tall mirrored windows and walls. Inside the branch head office, quiet tension hovered as unseen danger stirred elsewhere in the building. A sudden phone call pierced the silence, the ringing loud and urgent through the polished room. The branch head answered briskly, sensing from the tone that something unusual had just occurred downstairs. His assistant stammered nervously, urging him to visit exam room 3 immediately. Something inexplicable was happening there. The elevator descended steadily, its screen blinking 16 as tension slowly built in his chest. He adjusted his suit, muttering, "Exam room?" and tried to shake off his growing unease. For a moment he joked aloud. Did an S rank show up, knowing how rare that was? He chuckled to himself, brushing it off, probably a scuffle between scouts trying to claim new talent. As the doors slid open at 6, murmurs filled the air. Something unusual had drawn a crowd. The branch head stepped into the hallway, eyes narrowing at the gathering crowd, murmuring in confusion. He pushed through the cluster of agents, muttering, "Excuse me?" determined to see it firsthand. He halted, stunned his instincts, screaming, as his gaze locked onto something just beyond the glass. A large containment capsule stood in the room, its sealed top leaking strange smoke into the air. Mechanical gauges ticked steadily while ominous vapor coiled upward whatever was inside. It wasn't normal at all. The branch head stared in disbelief, trying to understand what he was seeing inside the chamber. A nervous staff member approached and reported shakily, "Sir, what happened to the machine is—" Another agent stepped forward, explaining hesitantly. "So," he placed his hand on the crystal ball and— At first, the crystal ball's color changed rapidly, he continued, still unsure how to explain everything. Moments earlier in exam room 3, the crystal pulsed violently the moment the young man touched it. Han Daesung asked cautiously, "Are you sure this is okay?" as his hand hovered forward. The examiner replied confidently, "Ah, yes, it sometimes happens," but his words trailed off in shock. Suddenly, the crystal began cracking under his palm vibrations, intensifying until it split with a sharp noise. The examiner stared wide-eyed, frozen in disbelief, watching the impossible unfold before him in real time. Even the young man looked confused, pulling his hand back slowly, unsure what he had just done. A loud explosion rocked the hallway. Everyone turned toward the source as smoke burst from exam room white mist hissed from the shattered machine, filling the hallway with a strange, hot chemical smell. Coughing echoed through the fog as Han Daesung emerged, unharmed, eyes scanning the shaken room. The examiner gasped, struggling to stand, overwhelmed by the aftermath and the ruined assessment device before them. Face pale with shock, the examiner cried out, "Mr. Han Daesung, are you all right?" Voice trembling with fear. Daesung looked around awkwardly, unsure what he did wrong, still surrounded by smoke and stunned faces. The branch head exhaled sharply, rubbing his forehead in disbelief as he muttered, "That wasn't normal." He turned to staff, frowning. "Are you sure the device is not faulty? All three?" Meanwhile, Daesung frowned slightly. "All I did was place my hand. I hope I'm not charged." He asked, "What should I do now?" The branch head finally replied, Yes, the result." The branch head thought grimly. Continuing this assessment would only destroy more of their costly equipment. Sighing to himself, he stepped forward and said, "Mr. Han?" prompting Daesung to turn curiously. Scratching his chin, the branch head admitted, "We've never encountered this situation before, so I think we'll have to assess you as borderline." Daesung blinked. "Borderline?" he continued. "When someone can't be measured with crystal balls, judges must determine the rank manually. Via the results from a license test," the branch head concluded, shifting to a formal tone. Daesung asked with a slight frown, "Is that test trustworthy?" Concern clear in his voice. The official explained, "Ranks are decided using numbers assigned under strict standards, so don't worry about authenticity." Daesung nodded reluctantly. "I guess it can't be helped." "Very well then," he said, accepting the plan. The meeting ended calmly. "Yes, take care now," the branch head said as Daesung quietly walked away. Daesung quietly exited the building, unaware of the discussion taking place behind him in the office. The branch head sighed heavily, muttering, This is definitely going to be the death of me." A staff member cautiously asked, "Sir, the crystal ball reacts to the otherworldly energy, correct?" He replied, "Yeah. What about it?" She adjusted her glasses, hesitation lingering in her eyes. She continued, "Do you think his energy is beyond the crystal ball's range, causing them to explode?" A younger agent snorted, barely hiding his laughter, earning a sharp glare from the senior staff. He muttered, Sorry," but the atmosphere had already grown colder from his poorly timed reaction. He scoffed, "What? You think that guy's some kind of SSS rank or something? That's hilarious." The branch head replied calmly, "There might be a possibility, though it sounds absurd, I admit." The woman snapped, "Unless he's basically God, no one should break the system. SSS rank doesn't even exist." Daesung answered his ringing phone as a voice asked, "Did you get assessed? What's the result?" He replied calmly, "They told me I'm borderline," while walking through the busy city streets alone. The caller sounded confused. "Borderline? Was the machine faulty?" Daesung raised his hand to his head. No, the machine broke, he said flatly, as people moved past him on the sidewalk. Wait, did you place your hand on it like instructed? And then it broke? Yeah. Daesung paused his steps and muttered, It doesn't matter, brushing off the chaos behind him. The voice on the call replied, All right, get back safely. I'll send the test details later. Daesung lowered his phone and stared quietly ahead, unsure of what truly came next for him. His footsteps slowed as silence settled around him, the city's noise fading into distant background hum. He turned his head slightly, eyes sharp. There was still something waiting beyond all this confusion. From the upper floors of the unfinished tower, the scope's glint revealed a hidden waiting threat. The sniper locked onto her mark, adjusted the barrel, and clicked the safety ready to fire instantly. The sniper observed Daesung calmly walking down the street, eyes distant, posture relaxed, deceptively unthreatening. Behind a dark scope, the assassin sneered. Strength means nothing, she whispered, steadying her grip. With a flick of her finger, the safety clicked off. She prepared to end it quickly. Through the crosshairs, Daesung's head came into perfect view. Her breath slowed. Everything was in place. Suddenly, his eyes met the scope direct, sharp. Her finger froze. He was looking straight at her. Panic struck the sniper. Her hands trembled slightly. No way! He actually saw me from there? She scanned the area, heart racing. Is my position compromised? That shouldn't be possible. He's just walking. Trying to stay calm, she adjusted her grip. There's no chance he noticed. He's just a kid. Daesung suddenly raised his hand and pointed at her. There! I know you're there. Aim right here. Her eyes widened in disbelief. He heard me from here? That's not normal. What kind of monster? Her arms trembled. This is too dangerous. I should retreat now before it gets worse. She turned to run, but his voice echoed sharply. Shoot! Her nerves snapped. Instinct forced her reaction. Gritting her teeth, she fired with everything she had. Purple energy surged violently from the rifle. The bullet flew at impossible speed. But Daesung had already moved, standing calmly in a new spot. He turned slowly, gaze locked. No fear, just control. His eyes told her she'd already lost. The impact landed hard. Smoke and debris exploded outward, covering the rooftop in a thick cloud. The force shook nearby structures. A loud hiss followed, dust spreading and blinding everything in sight. Through the smoke, the sniper stepped forward, confident. I got him, she said, lowering her weapon. Her eyes widened. The figure stood unharmed. No blood, no wounds, just calm, steady breath. Daesung stood inside a scorched crater, untouched. His presence alone sent chills through the rising dust. She stared at the bullet casing rolling across the floor. There's no way, she muttered. The shell stopped. Her eyes widened. This isn't normal. That's an aura bullet, and he's unharmed. Daesung turned, expression calm yet piercing. She froze. Who the hell is this guy? Fear overtook her. I have to run! Now! She turned instantly, ready to flee. She dashed away, leaving her weapon behind. A blade came flying, chasing her path through air. The blade sliced through her leg, drawing blood mid-sprint. She screamed, collapsing onto the hard ground. Pain surged through her body. She clenched her jaw and tried to push herself upright again. Her body tumbled across the pavement, rifle discarded. She couldn't regain balance. Everything felt like it was spinning. Daesung stepped forward, dark energy swirling around him. His eyes locked on her. There was no escape. She shrieked in panic. Eek! Her instincts screamed. This wasn't a fight anymore, it was survival. Daesung stood tall, voice steady. Too bad. You got me, but that won't kill me. Blue screens floated beside him, data flickering. Despite damage, his body healed far beyond normal awakened capability. The sniper reached desperately, grabbing her weapon. Her breath was uneven, mind racing with disbelief and fear. She flipped to her feet swiftly, wounded but not done. She had to finish this fight. Finger on the trigger, she shouted, You're still standing after getting hit by my aura bullet? She snarled, fury rising. Where the hell did you come from? Her voice cracked with rage. Daesung stepped forward slowly. What? His tone was calm, almost uninterested, as if unimpressed by her panic. He declared, voice steady, I, Han Daesung, am from hell. His presence darkened the entire room. She screamed back, trembling. "Sis, stay away, monster!" She opened fire again, emptying everything left in desperation. She shrieked, "Die! Die! Die!" as bullets flew, but something surged through the smoke fast, silent, unstoppable. She shouted, "Just die!" unleashing another full barrage toward the crumbling tower with reckless determination. Her bullets emptied quickly. The weapon clicked dry, completely out of ammo, her breath caught in panic. Smoke lingered as silence returned. She stared into the distance, heart racing. Did I get him?" Panting heavily, she tried to convince herself. "He fell, right?" But doubt started creeping in fast. A cold voice echoed behind her. "Get what?" Her eyes widened in terror. He was alive. Black tendrils burst from the ground, writhing and screeching. Daesung emerged, cloaked in shadowed fury. The sniper froze, her breath caught. F***sack, she gasped, eyes wide, heart hammering in raw fear. She turned to escape, but too late his hand grabbed her arm with crushing, precise strength. With no hesitation, Daesung slammed her into the wall. The sound echoed through the concrete structure. She choked out, "Keg!" struggling to breathe. His grip tightened. She realized this time she wouldn't win. Dark claws burst from Daesung's aura, wrapping around her arm. Her scream echoed in pure horror. She staggered back as the energy roared, burning through her body like it had its own will. Voices whispered from the dark mass, groaning, laughing, crying. Her thoughts fractured into panic and confusion. Grotesque faces formed along her arm, biting, squirming, bulging. Her pupils shrank. This wasn't normal power anymore. She trembled, face pale. What is this?" One eye dropped to the floor. Her body was changing. Daesung tilted his head. "Wait, you fainted? I didn't even use killing intent," he said, confused. He glanced down at the ground. Her fingers twitched, surrounded by black slime and twitching fragments. Sighing, he crouched. "Ugh, it's such a hassle even to kill you," he muttered tiredly. His gaze shifted to the side. Something had fallen from her coat, a case now partly open. Inside the case, photos spilled out his face, a girl, and documents. She wasn't a random assassin. Spent shells dropped and rolled across the ground, their clatter echoing through the tense silence. From the shadows, she stirred slowly, regaining consciousness. Her eyes flickered open, realizing the pain wasn't over. She lifted her head, still trembling. "Ugh!" she muttered, blood trickling as awareness crept back in. Suddenly, red tendrils burst through her body again. She screamed in agony, trapped by Daesung's power. Daesung stepped forward coldly. "Answer my questions. Any noise or nonsense and you're dead," she whimpered, powerless. Daesung stared at the documents and photos scattered before him, proof that he was targeted deliberately. He clenched his fist and stepped closer. "Who's behind this?" he asked, voice heavy with authority. She hesitated, then replied internally, "I can't expose the Scarlet Devil clan, yet that thug—" "Kim Seong-yun. He's listed as missing, so there's no reason you'd know his name." Confused, Daesung asked, "Kim Seong-yun? Who's that?" She answered, "The lone shareholder of Lohan Jian Company. You emptied his safe." Daesung scoffed lightly. "Ah, you mean that 500 million won?" His tone held no urgency. She thought to herself, "Yes, once I escape from here," while watching his expression carefully for a chance. Desperation flickered in her eyes. "Set me free! I'll give you his location!" she shouted. Without hesitation, Daesung's fist moved. It struck hard, silencing her mid-sentence and sending blood spraying outward. Her scream echoed from the building. "Ah! F***CK! Why?" Her bargaining chip had completely failed to work. A terrified scream echoed from the top floor as a body plunged from the construction site. The assassin, blood-soaked and furious, shouted at her victim, demanding why he betrayed their agreement. Kim Seong-hyun had never encountered an assassin with morals he refused to kill innocents for money. Daesung warned her coldly, repeat that stunt and he'd end her without hesitation or mercy. His eyes narrowed, voice calm but commanding, as he asked one final time, "Who sent you?" Kim Seong-yun confessed the mission was already doomed. Success was impossible after the failure of the contract. Memories flashed her partner's brutal death, a failed ambush, and the blood-soaked aftermath haunting her conscience. Even if she escaped now, she knew the Scarlet Devil clan would execute her for failure. Resigned to death, she whispered grimly, "If I'm going to die anyway, might as well fight." With fury and defiance, she declared he'd never get answers no matter how many times he asked. Daesung narrowed his eyes, recognizing the strange energy building. Was she about to self-destruct on purpose? The assassin screamed in rage, declaring vengeance as her body surged with volatile, unstable power. With a violent burst of energy, she charged forward, unleashing everything in one final attack. Her eyes widened mid-attack. Something had gone wrong. Blood gushed as pain overtook her in seconds. Daesung calmly holstered his weapon, unmoved. "You were right," he muttered. "You died either way." Daesung muttered to himself, frustrated after all his suffering. He was done with anything resembling hell. Blood pooled steadily beneath the lifeless assassin, her final stand ending in silence and crimson regret. Her body collapsed completely, the sound of her fall echoing faintly through the deserted construction site. Daesung sighed deeply, hand behind his head. He still had no clue who orchestrated this attack. Looking down at the corpse, he groaned, "Great, now I've got to clean up this mess." Daesung stared at the corpse. He didn't want to dig further, but he had no choice. He muttered a command. His eyes glowed faintly as the hidden journal interface appeared in his vision. He searched for Master of the Dead. The journal scanned rapidly until reaching a confirmed result. Daesung nodded, reading silently. The information might lead him somewhere useful. He needed any clue he could find. As a portal opened before him, he whispered the word shown. Pantheon. Then he stepped forward. Daesung glanced back at the body, remarking that gate fractures had already shut this area down. Still, he muttered that hiding the scene might be wise, less trouble from curious eyes later. Outside, the building stood tall beneath the bright sky, silent witness to the violence within. The upper floor was now quiet again, stained red, the lifeless body leaning motionless in blood. Unnoticed, the corpse's hand twitched faintly, an unnatural movement, as if death hadn't fully taken hold. Daesung emerged from the glowing portal, entering a new dimension bathed in crimson light and energy. A system prompt echoed in the air. This area held elite monsters and one dangerous named entity. He sighed, reading the warning. "Guess it's one of those no-turning-back type of places." A chilling voice announced the area boss, Soul Fiend, and its presence flooded the zone with dread. Towering and skeletal, the Soul Fiend loomed over shattered bones, staring directly at Daesung without fear. The Soul Fiend's aura surged. It controlled spirits of the dead, summoned through its massive skeletal frame. As it loomed over bones, Daesung stood ready, unshaken, even when faced with death's monstrous gatekeeper. He recalled underestimating Soul Realm powers, thinking they were useless until forced to survive using them alone. Now, a prompt offered to recreate page 134's entry for permanent use in Pantheon records. Daesung raised his hand slowly, muttering that he'd need every tool available to face what's ahead. The system confirmed, Typhon of the Drought was now recorded on page 134 for future summons. The ground trembled violently as a new force awakened. Daesung stood calmly in the shifting darkness. A mysterious realm materialized, cold, ancient, cloaked in purple mist, as power began gathering at its center. Suddenly, a vortex of raw energy erupted from the abyss, shaking the landscape with chaotic intensity. From the swirling fog, monstrous forms began to emerge, creatures drawn by the summoned soul's terrifying presence. Daesung approached the river's edge, muttering that beyond it lay the dreaded Ghost King's domain. He remembered once using a boat, but now nothing remained. Not even a plank floated nearby. Crossing was impossible by swimming. Even the slightest contact with the river's aura would destroy him. A system prompt triggered detailing the Undead King's Soul Prison quest and warning of severe disintegration consequences. Suddenly, red targeting frames locked onto him. An unknown enemy had activated a mysterious temporal interference protocol. Daesung froze as the system displayed, waiting for elimination approval. Purple symbols glowed across the sky, From the dark clouds, hundreds of mechanical forms began descending, emitting a shrill, metallic screeching sound. He stared up in disbelief and alarm, muttering sharply, "What the hell is that thing?" Dozens of white, orb-like automatons with glowing eyes flew down, designed purely for killing intruders without mercy. The system confirmed. Approval complete. Eliminating interrupter. The machines prepared their strike, locked on Daesung's position. Daesung gritted his teeth as glowing drones swarmed, locking onto him with lethal precision from above. One machine dived, slamming into the ground. Dust burst upward as it signaled the others to attack. With a sharp twist, Daesung dodged a purple blast, letting the energy scorch the air beside him. The projectile struck the earth behind him, releasing a hissing smoke cloud and melting stone on impact. Daesung smirked sarcastically, muttering, "Do I at least get a boat if I kill them?" Daesung activated a skill crystal, drawing its energy as blue glyphs shimmered around his clenched hand. One of the largest drones advanced, glowing ominously, thick armor plates shifting with hostile mechanical intent. Daesung crouched and leapt forward, launching himself through the chaos, narrowly dodging a flurry of crimson sparks. The giant drone reacted fast, jumping into the air with surprising agility, aiming to intercept him mid-flight. In an instant, Daesung's blade pierced cleanly through metal, cracked as sparks burst from the impact site. Daesung twisted midair, channeling his momentum as he brought the blade down with lethal precision. His strike landed hard, slicing clean through the drone's shell sparks, and wires burst with explosive force. The mangled drone screamed, falling in a spiral as Daesung landed smoothly among the scattered parts. Before he could recover, a second wave of orbs surged forward, humming with volatile energy. Dozens of projectiles swirled in from every direction, surrounding him in a tight, spiraling assault pattern. Daesung tightened his grip, eyes glowing red as the drones closed in, ready for his counterattack. Han Daesung scoffed, gripping his dagger. "Poison bombs, that's nothing," he muttered, eyes glinting coldly. With hellish energy surging from his body, he stood unmoved. Toxic clouds swirled, but he advanced. Enemies struck fast fists, flying like thunder, but Daesung's barrier blazed red, absorbing each brutal impact without faltering. Blow after blow came, pounding the shield like a drum. Daesung didn't flinch, didn't stagger once. The smoke cleared. Standing tall, unscathed, Daesung exhaled. His aura pulsed calm, lethal. "Now it's my turn." Daesung stared at the hovering enemies. Fighting them one by one would take too much time. He noted their refusal to descend. That made things easier. He wouldn't wait around any longer. With one powerful strike, Daesung smashed the ground. His force echoed, shaking everything above into movement. Cracks split the cliff as monsters fell. Dust exploded outward, followed by the rumble of collapse. The creatures, now exposed and enraged, swarmed down. Daesung faced them calmly, his power still burning strong. The monster crashed down with a shriek, landing hard. Dust rose, but Daesung watched unshaken. He locked eyes on his target. "There!" he growled, dashing forward with deadly precision and speed. Daesung closed the gap instantly. His blade flashed, clashing against the beast's limbs in brutal strikes. Blood sprayed as his slash connected. The creature retaliated, swinging its sharp limbs wildly in rage. Daesung ducked, then countered. His final blow shattered the enemy, its pieces falling broken and lifeless. Daesung summoned energy into his hand. The glowing orb pulsed with power as he stared ahead. He crushed it instantly. A bright flash exploded from his palm, signaling the battle's final moment. System alerts chimed. Notifications filled the air, confirming quest completion and progress in his current objectives. A message appeared in front of him confirming, "You will now receive a reward." The light formed and hovered. Daesung looked up, calm and focused, ready to claim his prize. Daesung watched the blazing light intensify. From the center, a shape began to materialize slowly. A glowing emblem emerged, golden and sharp. Energy pulsed from it as flames danced around silently. The system revealed the reward: armor with immunity to undead energy and enhanced physical defense. He narrowed his eyes, reading carefully. "Immunity against undead energy, huh?" he muttered, considering its usefulness. Another prompt appeared, asking if he'd equip it. He stared at the yes option without blinking. Daesung stared at the dark, liquid expanse. "So you want me to swim across?" he muttered. He stepped forward without hesitation. Purple mist swirled ominously over the surface as he prepared himself. With a grunt, Daesung jumped into the corrupted water. The liquid hissed, reacting to his presence. Golden armor shimmered beneath the surface. As he emerged, it began shielding him from the toxic effects. He took a breath, now standing fully armored. "Whew," he exhaled, adjusting to the new weight. System messages appeared. The demonic beasts acknowledged Daesung's elite swimming skill with impressed passive admiration. Another message followed, expressing their regret for not assisting the absolute being during the chaotic battle. Daesung wiped his face, muttering coldly, "If you know, then shut up and stay quiet." He stepped through the glowing portal. Golden armor flickered as his presence triggered the spatial transition. He landed firmly. The text appeared. Ghost King's territory. Wind howled across the vast, eerie land. Daesung looked around the wasteland. "No one's here," he said, scanning the area for threats. He noted the destruction. "The old castle where the Ghost King lived is gone too," he muttered. A message popped up. The beasts of pandemonium expressed sorrow over the castle's total disappearance. Daesung sighed, annoyed. "You don't have to tell me every single time. It's none of my business." He paused. "But isn't the quest supposed to happen inside the old castle?" The ground shook suddenly. A violent gust burst from the ground. Debris scattered as something massive began to rise upward. A towering structure emerged, shaking the earth. Dust swirled while ancient stone pushed skyward with force. Daesung steadied himself as tremors intensified. His eyes locked onto the tower, forcing through the soil. The entire land quaked. From the ruins, a spire now stood tall, unmoving and ominously silent. Daesung stepped forward slowly. Wind howled through the wasteland as he faced the tower's massive entrance. A system alert described the structure. Heavenly obelisk, designed to seal undead from the underworld. The tower gleamed as it stabilized. Holy light pulsed upward, lighting the sky with divine energy. A fiery vortex guarded the entrance. Daesung stood still, watching the flames swirl across the path. He clenched his fists. "Does the next quest start once I go in there?" he asked. New quest data appeared. Destroy cursed objects inside the tower within 2 hours to gain realization. A heavy stomp echoed through the chamber. Dust parted as a towering figure stepped into view. The figure stood still, clad in red-black armor, its glowing eyes locked directly onto Daesung. Daesung narrowed his eyes. "That's," he muttered, unable to immediately identify the armored enemy before him. The red energy around the figure surged violently. Its stance tightened, clearly preparing for combat. Daesung's eyes widened. "A ghost soldier," he said aloud, recognizing the formidable creature from past records. Daesung recalled the rule demonic beasts couldn't act hostile toward him while under system classification control. The ghost soldier roared in defiance, rallying others behind him despite the restriction. Something was wrong. The soldier bellowed, "Bow, you assholes!" His voice cracked with fury, rejecting the system's control completely. Daesung's aura erupted violently. Flames surged around his golden armor as he prepared to respond immediately. The remaining ghost soldiers froze. A message appeared. Pandemonium's beasts were saddened by their comrades' rebellious actions. The ghost soldier roared with rage. Its eyes burned red as it led the charge forward. The entire undead unit dashed toward Daesung, blades raised and fury ignited in their corrupted hearts. Daesung blocked the first strike, spinning swiftly. His blade countered with precise force and brutal energy. As he fought, he analyzed calmly. "I don't think any of them have any cores." He slashed another down with a clean arc. The body collapsed, no reward, no energy returned. The sky pulsed ominously as Daesung questioned the cause. Was the strange disturbance from the pillar? A massive vortex formed above the tower, and monsters with crimson eyes swarmed down without hesitation. The creatures surged forward, driven by fury and numbers, aiming to obliterate anything in their path. With burning resolve, Daesung activated his trump card, blood demonization, transforming as power erupted violently from within. Eyes glowing red, body ablaze, Daesung promised to wipe them all out, every last one, without exception. Daesung narrowed his eyes, sensing the danger. He launched forward, prepared to face overwhelming odds. His feet slammed into the ground, exploding with force. He rocketed into battle, enemies scrambling to react. Blades clashed and bodies flew. His fists struck like thunder, tearing through the front line without losing momentum. Enemies retaliated, but Daesung cut them down mid-air, countering every move with precise, unrelenting power. Eyes burning, he swung once more. The energy surged around him, signaling the true battle had begun. Daesung's strikes smashed through their formation. Bodies flew as the shockwave tore across the battlefield without mercy. A counter on the system screen ticked up. 50 enemies defeated, yet thousands still waited ahead. Another wave crushed beneath him. The count rose to 130, but it still wasn't enough. He exhaled, staring at the towering structure. The battlefield's true weak point might be hidden inside. Without hesitation, Daesung moved. A fierce enemy rushed from the inner corridor, weapon raised and ready. A blade whistled through the air. The armored guard lunged, aiming directly for Daesung's exposed side. Daesung dodged and countered instantly. His spin sent soldiers flying, weapons clattering against the stone floor. He charged again, slamming one enemy through the hallway wall, clearing his path toward the tower's core. The tower's thick walls shook from repeated impacts. Daesung struck again, blasting chunks off the reinforced exterior. Unrelenting, he assaulted the structure's foundation. Dust and stone exploded outward as his fists tore through defenses. A deafening explosion erupted below. The tower cracked further as debris spiraled high into the cloudy sky. From the smoke, a dark figure appeared. Energy surged violently, surrounding its armored frame with glowing force. The purple aura pulsed stronger. A towering knight emerged, eyes glowing, weapon raised for immediate confrontation. Daesung stepped forward. The ground beneath him sparked slightly, pressure rising from the building clash ahead. Smoke cleared. Daesung stood tall, facing the enemy's champion. The real battle was about to begin. A system message appeared. Daesung had cleared the quest and earned the Rune of Expansion reward. 2 glowing orbs floated before him, one purple, one orange, each pulsing with distinct energy and purpose. He analyzed them calmly. The realization orb felt familiar, while the reward orb radiated more intense power. "I should check the other item first," he muttered, narrowing his eyes as he made a decision. "Collect." The purple orb flared as sparks cracked around it, drawn gently toward his outstretched palm. The purple orb sank into his chest. A pulse of power surged through his body instantly. System messages appeared. He had acquired the Soul Prison and new special skills linked to death. The abilities described unique effects, transforming souls into power, or sharpening strength based on nearby enemy corpses. Daesung smirked slightly. "This explains why I earned it as a reward. 20 is too low." Without hesitation, he reached out. The second orb blazed red as he commanded, "Collect!" Daesung gave the command again, "Collect!" The red orb surged forward, flames swirling around its form. The orb's power ignited. Flames wrapped around the soul prison, signaling the fusion process had begun. A system window appeared. Current imprisoned souls, 1,700. His storage limit had drastically expanded in seconds. Daesung looked down at his chest, feeling the shift as energy stabilized within his body. He clenched his fist. A final message confirmed it. Soul prison has been absorbed. Daesung stood calmly. "I've achieved my goals for coming here. Should we head back now?" Suddenly, a golden orb pulsed before him. He stepped closer, puzzled by its strange energy shift. A system alert appeared, stating that the source of the signal was tied to something unexpected. He raised an eyebrow. "Am I obligated to listen to you again?" he asked, reaching forward. A deep gong rang out. His eyes widened slightly. Something powerful had just acknowledged his action. Daesung stared at the glowing orb in his hand. Its heat intensified, pulsing like a signal. Flames wrapped around it and shot upward. He remained silent, carefully watching its reaction and trajectory. Suddenly, the system interface buzzed. He turned to it and muttered, "Huh?" with a cautious glance. The golden panels flickered erratically. "What is it this time?" he asked, his posture tightening slightly. Text materialized. "You have gained a hidden achievement." Daesung narrowed his eyes. Another unexpected development had arrived. Daesung exhaled. "I thought it would be useful, but it's just another fragmented clue." Without hesitation, he turned toward the red portal behind him. "I'm going back!" he declared firmly. In an instant, his surroundings changed. The sky gave way to concrete and clear sunlight. He blinked in surprise. The sudden return to modern reality caught him completely off guard. Daesung stood still inside a half-finished building, taking in the silence and unfinished steel around him. Daesung looked around sharply. Where did the corpse go? Something was off. It had vanished. He scanned the building. His expression stiffened as he listened to the faint sounds outside. From behind a wall, a girl peeked out silently. Her presence was cautious but intentional. Daesung spotted her calmly. "The body's already cold," he said, acknowledging what she likely already knew. He turned toward her, tone gentler. "Ah, sorry," he added, aware of the strange tension. The girl smiled and called out cheerfully, "Hurry up, let's eat." Her tone eased the mood. Steam rose from the table. Freshly prepared dishes waited, signaling a rare moment of normalcy. The news played in the background, reporting on a recent gate fracture and its minimal damage. She turned off the TV. The screen faded to black. "Let's eat," she said quietly. Daesung picked up his spoon. "The world's changed a lot. I saw monsters on the news." They ate quietly. The clinking of spoons and soft slurps were the only sounds between them. His mother broke the silence. "I thought you'd be shocked. That's why I couldn't tell you." She looked down, guilt in her voice. "Sorry, I'm your mother, and I've done nothing helpful." Daesung replied calmly. "It's fine. You two survived unharmed in this world. I should be grateful." She looked up, eyes wide with surprise. His words softened the weight she'd been carrying alone. The girl cleared her throat, trying to break the silence as she casually continued eating soup. Daesung looked around and thought, "What's with this atmosphere?" Something unspoken hung heavy in the room. He asked lightly, "Do either of you want anything?" Hoping to ease the lingering tension, they teased him back. "Planning something big?" "You already ate double." He just smiled and nodded. Outside, he looked up at the Soul Clan building. "I'm going AWOL for a bit." A Soul Clan agent called out, asking about Daesung's sudden absence from the training program. Daesung stood on the rooftop, answering vaguely. "Something strange happened. I need time to investigate." He recalled it clearly. The corpse disappeared completely, without a trace. The scene had left no evidence. Looking up at the sky, he said, "Take care of Mom. I'll contact you when I can." His gaze sharpened. "Whoever they are, I need to make them never act out again." He stared at his phone, concern growing. "What are you up to, Daesung?" he whispered. A sleek building housed whispers of the Scarlet Devil clan, covering up their deadly assassin's remains. Two suited figures emerged, discussing the man who effortlessly crushed their S-rank assassin like nothing. The long-haired leader grinned coldly, choosing patience. Their target would resurface soon, specifically at the upcoming exam. He turned to his companion, Jinchul, confident this test would be their perfect opportunity to strike. Elsewhere, suspended underwater, Han Daesung opened his eyes, prepared he'd waited long enough for this moment. The lab technician confirmed Jinchul's stable vitals. As an A-rank awakened, his body remained unnaturally calm. The scientist hesitated, awaiting orders. "Shall I begin the serum injection?" he asked, glancing at the overseer. Jinchul stood upright, composed. "I was prepared for this pain the day I joined the clan." Inside the chamber, his figure tightened as he braced himself. The order finally came. "Begin the procedure." Without further pause, the lab assistant pressed the button. "Serum injection starting," he announced as lights blinked. The chamber sealed shut. Serum surged through the pipes, swirling around Jinchul's body with increasing force. His muscles twitched and expanded unnaturally. "Injection at 20%, heart rate stable." the system calmly reported. Jinchul clenched his teeth as his body writhed. Pressure built steadily. "Injection at 40%, came next. A pained groan escaped his lips. Veins bulged across his face. The strain was no longer mild. The system displayed rising bio readings. "Injection at 55%. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared. Something was going wrong. The assistant panicked as red lights flashed. "Sir, we've passed the acceptance range," he shouted urgently. He warned of fatal risk, but the command was firm. "Continue!" There was no hesitation allowed. The leader remained cold. "If he'd die from this, I wouldn't have brought him here." The assistant trembled. "Injection at 80%, now 90%. His voice cracked as Jinchul's body began to shake. Jinchul screamed violently, veins glowing red. His muscles swelled, bubbles bursting as raw power surged through his system. Jinchul's eyes widened in agony as the serum reached its final stage. "Injection at 100%, announced. Monitors flashed red. The heart rate line trembled, then halted flat. A single tone echoed across the lab. The alarm blared. Inside the tank, Jinchul's limp body floated eerily, unmoving beneath the faint, swirling light. The lead figure watched silently. The chamber now cold and still, filled only with silent equipment hums. The assistant stammered, eyes wide. "Heart rate at 0. I think he's dead," he whispered in disbelief. The leader's expression shifted. A strange jolt struck his chest as he watched the silent chamber. Inside the tank, Jinchul's hand twitched slightly, barely perceptible, but enough to break the illusion of death. The assistant noticed the movement, eyes narrowing. The monitors began beeping again, slowly at first, then stronger. The flat line pulsed. A new rhythm emerged. The heart monitor steadily resumed a normal pattern. The assistant gasped, stunned. "He's alive." The impossible return had begun before their very eyes. A blinding flash erupted from within the chamber as Jinchul's eyes burst open with energy. The assistant recoiled in shock, unable to believe what he saw. It can't be!" he gasped. Jinchul's fist slammed against the glass wall, lightning-like energy crackling along his arm with explosive force. Water splashed as his foot struck the base. The tank shook violently under his reawakening strength. With a guttural roar, Jinchul screamed, breaking the silence. His body surged with raw, unleashed power. The leader smirked, finally satisfied. Jinchul had survived and now radiated overwhelming power in his awakened form. Lightning coursed around Jinchul as he stood tall, breathing heavily. He had surpassed every calculated limit. "You almost disappointed me," the leader said calmly. "He's well done. He'll prove useful." With a calm smile, he whispered, "I look forward to 10 days from now." Elsewhere, Daesung read a message aloud. He chuckled, confident. "If that's their gear, I'm not worried." Daesung paused, thoughtful. "I need to check something first," he muttered, preparing to test a theory. He drew a slim wooden stick from his sleeve, flicking it lightly into the open air. Tapping it against his palm, Daesung observed carefully. "I knew it," he said under his breath. Golden armor shimmered faintly. "Unlike weapons, my armor doesn't manifest outside the system. I can wear it freely." A glowing portal swirled to life. Without hesitation, Daesung stepped forward, beginning the next phase of preparation. Daesung focused, holding the twig and dagger together. "I'm sure I can overwrite weapons," he said. He issued a command to the system. "Recognize this stick as a weapon," calmly and clearly. Light swirled around his hand. The dagger dissolved, merging with the stick in a digital transformation. The message "loading complete" hovered in the air. His experiment had succeeded exactly as he predicted. Daesung nodded, satisfied. "So it's possible for weapons too," he confirmed, gripping the transformed twig tightly. "With this I could disguise my sword secretly," he thought, recognizing the tactical value of stealth. He glanced up and exhaled. Well then, let's go pick it up," he said. "Pantheon," he called. In an instant, the scene shifted. He arrived at the blazing Fire King's territory. Flames crackled underfoot. Daesung looked around the scorched land. "Never thought I'd come back to this place." From the burning fields, monstrous beasts emerged, armored and snarling, their red eyes fixed on Daesung. Daesung turned calmly, unshaken by the threat. He had expected this kind of welcome in Pantheon. One beast lunged forward with a roar, jaws wide. Daesung stood still, timing his move precisely. A quest notification appeared. Retrieve the Sword of Flames guarded by the Fire King's elite hounds. Another message followed instantly. Sudden quest. Eliminate the attackers before securing the weapon in the canyon. Daesung raised his hand, gripping the weapon. I didn't think I'd use this so soon. Soul prison, he declared. The blade shimmered with energy, responding to his command with eerie purple light. The monsters stomped forward, claws raised. Daesung remained still, focused, calculating every move with controlled readiness. He narrowed his eyes, taunting. What? You want food? His smirk didn't hide the brewing intent. The beast roared, furious and wild, launching toward him without hesitation, fangs bared and claws extended. Daesung dashed forward in a burst of speed, eyes locked on the charging monster's exposed chest. He weaved past its claws and slashed upward, piercing its armor with precise, practiced force. The creature staggered as Daesung twisted and launched it backward, using its momentum to prepare another strike. But another beast stepped in, growling fiercely. Its bloodshot eyes locked on Daesung, ready to attack. Han Daesung leapt forward, blade drawn, slicing through the ghost warrior with explosive precision and speed. The beast snarled, glowing eyes filled with rage, but Daesung's foot landed squarely in its chest. Crackling energy gathered around him as Daesung spun, delivering a swift, glowing strike through the ghost's defenses. The force exploded outward, throwing enemies aside like broken dolls, crashing hard against the dungeon's dark stone. A golden message flickered into view. Ghost soldiers, 33 1/100ths, as Daesung prepared for the next brutal clash. Han Daesung tightened his grip around the burning hilt, flame-etched steel pulsing with awakened spectral energy. Power surged through his body as the weapon responded. Light swirled, signaling the start of invocation. With a smirk, he gave the command, "Summon ghost soldiers," his voice calm, yet sharp with resolve. The ground split as monstrous spirits rose, armored and howling, their crimson eyes blazing for battle. A ghost soldier burst forward, striking hard and fast, crashing into enemies like a living battering ram. The summoned ghost soldier charged ahead, claws ready, locking eyes with the enemy leading the pack. Dark energy wriggled across its arms, pulsing outward as blue liquid shadows oozed from beneath its skin. Its body flared with spectral fire, muscles bulging, as the enemy braced for the incoming devastating strike. The ghost soldier slammed into the front line, throwing enemies into disarray, scattering their formation instantly. From behind, Han Daesung gave the next order, voice sharp and clear. "Go!" His eyes burned steady. The ghost soldier let out a deep roar, energy flaring, signaling the beginning of its strike. Enemy beasts roared back, shaking the air, their red eyes fixed on the threat before them. With snarls and rage, they surged forward together, weapons raised, answering the call to charge in unison. The ghost soldier dashed into the chaos, claws ready, aiming straight for the pack's frontline leader. Elsewhere, Daesung calmly lit a match, preparing a trap, his focus unshaken amid the battlefield's storm. Han Daesung inhaled deeply, lighting the cigarette with steady fingers, eyes fixed on the battlefield ahead. He coughed, eyes watering slightly, muttering, "Chanho, how and why the hell do you smoke these?" Below, a ghost soldier swung its blade in one motion, cleaving through an enemy with force. The enemy split apart, collapsing before Daesung's calm stance, while flames crackled in the background undisturbed. Another beast lunged from the side, claws raised, crashing toward Daesung with speed and wild strength. Daesung stood unfazed in the flames. "They're weaklings, but don't ever let your guard down." A beast charged through fire, snarling, its red eyes locked on Daesung with pure hostile intent. A blue ghost soldier shot forward like an arrow, intercepting the charging enemy in a flash. Daesung's eyes narrowed as he watched the clash. He knew this battle wouldn't be so simple. "They'll regenerate infinitely unless you destroy the hidden mark inside them," he muttered, voice steady and serious. A beast yanked the ghost soldier's arm, teeth bared, its movements fast and full of aggression. The ghost retaliated instantly, biting deep into the attacker's neck, refusing to release even under pressure. Daesung calmly explained, "They're undead creatures. They don't feel pain or fear, so don't wait to strike." The battlefield grew chaotic. Ghosts and beasts clashed fiercely, tearing through armor, bones cracking under brutal impact. The soul counter updated 121 out of 1,000. Daesung frowned. "At this pace, it'll take all night." Daesung muttered, "If I step in, this ends faster. No more delays, only straight action now." His foot hit the ground with force. Flames surged beneath him, igniting a massive vertical eruption. A beam of power exploded upward, obliterating everything in its path with deafening force and light. Daesung looked up calmly. "I won't even break a sweat unless I push a little harder." With that, he launched himself into the air, flames trailing beneath as he soared above the battlefield. Daesung narrowed his eyes. "The drop point," he whispered, calculating his landing while energy gathered below. He smirked. "Should be right there," he finished, as the battlefield trembled under flames and collapsing ground. Without hesitation, Daesung angled himself downward, falling fast with fists clenched and heat swirling around his form. He landed like a cannonball, shaking the earth. Beasts stumbled, weapons clashed, and chaos broke instantly. Drawing his blade mid-motion, Daesung cut through a nearby enemy, not slowing as he joined the melee. A beast spotted Daesung descending, its expression shifting to shock as it realized the incoming danger. A blazing impact tore through the center, rumbling the ground and scattering enemies into the smoke. Stunned, several beasts turned toward the light, eyes wide, unsure of what was tearing through them. Daesung smashed down like a missile, crushing the front line. Energy erupted with a deafening explosion. Wind burst outward from the force, pushing back surviving enemies, their footing faltering under the blast. The battlefield exploded with light. Dust flew outward as Daesung's impact carved a crater into earth. Far away, the Soul Clan headquarters stood in sharp contrast, peaceful under the clear sky's silence. Suddenly, alarms blared. A purple creature pierced the building's defenses, its attack swift and dangerously precise. The mutant screeched loudly, body pulsing with energy. Its eyes scanned rapidly for the next target. A figure skidded across the polished floor, arriving just in time to intercept the incoming threat. The woman sliced clean through the monster's back, her blade glowing as she spun to position. A system message appeared. "You have destroyed all of the creature's orbs." The kill was confirmed. Panting, she lowered her weapon. The monster's body glitched with energy before dissolving into scattered particles. Still catching her breath, she raised her head. Her name, Shin Choyon Soul Clan's sharpest frontline fighter. Her eyes flickered with determination. Energy pulsed in her hand as she prepared for the next threat. A message appeared. "Hunting simulation has ended. Well done." The evaluation phase of her test began immediately. The Soul Clan manager looked toward his superior. "What do you think, sir?" he asked respectfully. The clan leader, Hwang Junyoung, rubbed his chin. "Not bad," he said, watching her data replay on screen. "But she relaxes mid-battle and does reckless things. We're focusing on correcting that before time runs out. Raise her training 2 levels. If she wants to beat the Mad Dog, she has to." "By Mad Dog, do you mean Zhang Yanho of the Scarlet Devil clan?" the manager asked. "Yes," Junyoung replied. "Besides him, no one else could surpass Shin Choyon during the upcoming exam. She's A rank even as a student, but we don't know the Scarlet Devil clan's true plans." "Come on," Junyoung scoffed. "You think they'd sit quiet? They were banned from rookie evaluations last year." "That's why they'll likely act in secret. They're probably preparing something big to reclaim lost ground." The manager concluded, This year's first exam will spotlight Shin Choyeon and Jong Jincheol's direct rivalry. Junyoung nodded. Most likely, unless something unusual intervenes, he muttered, concern flickering behind his composed expression. At that moment, Daesung stood atop a mountain of bodies, flames rising his presence, rewriting all expectations. The system's alert rang loudly as Daesung's overwhelming strength left the demonic beasts in shock. Despite their fear, they revered him, his presence demanding awe as flames shimmered through the air. He checked his mission's progress. Only 99 out of 10,000 soul stones collected so far. Annoyed by the constant alerts, Daesung wondered if he could mute the irritating system notifications. A monstrous beast roared from below, interrupting his thoughts, its blood-red eyes glaring straight up at him. Daesung gripped his glowing sword, warning the beast to stay silent as smoke curled from his lips. Without hesitation, he struck the blade cut clean through, and the monster collapsed in a heap of smoke. A system chime echoed, quest complete, 500 points gained, and his great hellfire sword reached 50% realization. Suddenly, energy surged from the fallen beast's body, blue streams of light shooting in every direction. Powerful waves pulsed outward as Daesung stood firm, watching the battlefield light up with surging magical force. Blue energy surged from the corpses, converging at the center as Daesung stood calmly among destruction. A glowing orb formed mid-air, humming with power, and eerie silence followed its sudden and complete formation. A system message appeared. Soul Orb of the Dead. Offer it at the altar to proceed. Daesung frowned, scanning the area. He muttered that he'd never seen anything resembling an altar before. Reluctantly, he reached out and grabbed the orb, preparing to search for the mysterious altar himself. The ground rumbled violently as a towering structure began to rise from the shattered, flaming battlefield below. A majestic black altar emerged from the smoke, surrounded by glowing flames and pillars of stone. Daesung turned toward it, surprised by the sudden appearance, still holding the soul orb tightly in hand. He smirked, thinking the beasts had helped him only for the system to deny his assumption instantly. Accepting the truth, he carefully stepped forward and placed the orb at the altar's glowing center. A new quest appeared. Daesung must prove himself to the guardian snake using the soul stone. He placed the glowing orb onto the altar's surface, following the exact instruction from the quest. The altar pulsed with green light, sending energy upward as the air grew tense and unstable. Massive pillars rose before him, glowing with unknown force as the ground trembled under his feet. Standing firm in the center, Daesung watched as light columns engulfed him in preparation for the trial. Daesung narrowed his eyes, watching as the surrounding light intensified, signaling something powerful was approaching. A massive serpent emerged, coiling through the light pillars, its hiss echoing across the silent space. Its blazing eyes locked onto Daesung, pulsing with divine energy that rippled across its glowing body. Daesung stood still, focused and ready, knowing this confrontation required more than brute strength or speed. A system message declared, this was Oracle's snake, he must prove himself worthy to claim the item. Daesung flinched as a new interface appeared, unsure what kind of test would come next. He stared blankly at the message, annoyed. All the build-up and it turned into a quiz. With a sigh, he muttered that he couldn't believe he was actually going along with this. Trying to stay composed, Daesung challenged the guardian. He told the snake to ask its question directly. The snake hissed, clouds swirling beneath it, and spoke in an ancient language Daesung couldn't understand. Daesung's eye twitched in disbelief. The snake's incomprehensible question had pushed his patience to the limit. Irritated and out of patience, he growled, asking if the creature was seriously mocking him now. Without warning, he launched a punch straight into the snake's face, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The snake slammed into the ground with a screech. Daesung shouted, demanding it stop playing games. A system alert appeared. He had activated blood demonization, boosting all abilities while draining his life slowly. Daesung's aura surged darker. With a sharp breath, he vanished, dashing forward like a shadowed blur. He struck fast, piercing the snake's tough scales with a clean thrust that left a deep wound. Gripping his sword tighter, Daesung readied another move, eyes locked on the beast's glowing head. The snake twisted in pain, one eye bleeding as it reeled back to avoid the next blow. Furious, the serpent launched itself upward, roaring with rage, preparing to retaliate with its full divine might. Daesung shouted furiously, accusing the beast of mistaking kindness for weakness, his aura flaring in defiance. He charged with fierce intent, unleashing a powerful vertical strike straight toward the beast's wide-open mouth. The sword's light trailed behind him as energy surged around his arm, intensifying with explosive force. Eyes burning with rage, Daesung yelled at the serpent, determined to end this reckless challenge now. With a roar, he smashed down like a meteor, his blade striking with overwhelming, concentrated strength. The snake hissed in pain, rising back with steam pouring from its scorched and battered body. Its massive frame trembled as the energy within swelled violently, gathering into a dense, glowing sphere. With a thunderous boom, the snake discharged the energy, launching it toward Daesung in a blast. Daesung landed lightly on the wooden floor, dodging with precision just before the impact zone erupted. He stood tall, blood dripping from his hands, facing the snake with calm, unshaken determination. Daesung grimaced at the foul stench rising from the battlefield, wiping blood from his face slowly. He turned, noticing something strange. An odd reaction from the snake's body caught his full attention. From deep within its core, green flames erupted upward, signaling another phase of its regeneration cycle. Daesung narrowed his eyes and spoke, noting how predictable the creature's regeneration had become over time. Still, watching the glowing wounds twist and seal unnaturally unsettled him more than he wanted to admit. The green fire spread faster, surrounding the snake's torn flesh as it squirmed and sealed unnaturally. Daesung narrowed his eyes, gripping his sword tighter. If the flame meant what he suspected, everything changed. He clenched a vial in his hand, preparing for a different tactic against the awakened serpent. The snake hissed louder than before, its body now radiating an overwhelming pressure in every direction. Daesung sighed, stepping forward with resolve. The usual method wouldn't work. He needed something stronger this time. Daesung stared forward, eyes glowing with power, and challenged the beast with one calm, commanding word. Daesung stared down the monstrous threat before him, violet energy swirling around his fist with focused resolve. A serpentine beast lunged forward, jaws glowing blue, crashing through space with a roar that cracked the ground. The creature screamed, "Krah!" as Daesung met it head-on, fist glowing, magic colliding with monstrous force. Energy clashed. Daesung's punch blocked the strike mid-air, his power surging in response to the beast's fury. His kick connected, splashing through the monster's skin, a spray of blood trailing the decisive counterstrike. Daesung's punch cracked the serpent's skull, sending a shockwave across the field as energy flared outward. Raising both hands, Daesung summoned blinding flames, blue and pure, burning with an otherworldly intensity above. He smirked calmly, recognizing the energy. "I knew it. It's the sacred fire of revival." The wounded serpent hissed violently, lunged toward the fire, its instincts overridden by desperation and growing fear. Flames consumed the beast from within. It gulped them down, but the hissing intensified with rising agony. System alerts echoed. Demonic beasts of pandemonium trembled in fear, one even turning away in despair. The serpent's eye flared brightly, its resolve reigniting as it sensed the sacred fire's coming strike. Daesung launched himself forward, piercing the serpent's mouth with explosive force, light bursting from the impact point. Energy surged through the serpent's body. Daesung used the blast's momentum to leap away without hesitation. He landed hard, crouched with precision, eyes sharp, body braced for the next wave of conflict. Daesung slammed the massive sword into the ground, cold energy radiating as the weapon stabilized his stance. Gripping the hilt, he muttered, "Too valuable for someone talentless like you to hold on to." A system message appeared. He acquired the resplendent sword, but couldn't unlock full potential at 50% realization. 50% should be enough, Daesung said, especially against a beast that can't wield sacred fire. The serpent lunged again, maw wide and glowing, sacred flames burning within as it prepared to strike. Daesung drew the heavy sword from the ground, its edge pulsing with restrained, explosive force. Smirking, he muttered, "It's almost too much, in fact," as the sword trembled with stored energy. The resplendent sword rang out, power activating its sharpness, and might multiplied in a blinding flash of light. He swung down with force. The glowing blade cut deep into the serpent's thick, armored body. The serpent's flesh split cleanly, scales shattering from the impact, as Daesung completed the decisive strike. Daesung launched upward with a final strike, purple energy blasting behind him as he left the ground. The serpent's body collapsed in pieces, torn apart and scorched, screeching its last in a dying cry. Daesung landed, blood on his cheek, breathing calmly as his eyes locked onto the fading beast. A system message appeared: quest complete. He was awarded realization points and the title, Guardian of the Blade. Energy surged into the resplendent sword, glowing with completion. Its dormant potential finally responded to Daesung's soul. Daesung stood still, flames flaring around him as the sword reacted to his completed realization stage. A system alert appeared: the sword would initiate the Hellfire ordeal, requiring survival under intense burning heat. Eyes wide, he realized this was a necessary step to fully awaken the great Hellfire sword. The trial would not kill him, but he must endure burning agony for 10 full days. Without hesitation, Daesung stepped into the flames, his figure vanishing inside a blazing storm of fire. Engulfed in fire, Daesung remained calm, even as the flames tried to burn his body apart. He gritted his teeth. "There's no reason for me to suffer through something like this," he thought. Heat intensified. He raised his voice, challenging the Fire King for forgetting who its rightful master was. Eyes blazing, he warned, "Remove the timer now, or I'll destroy everything you hold sacred." Time ticked on. Daesung's gaze sharpened. "Do it, or I'll reduce you to dust myself." The timer froze at 4 seconds. A system message declared the Hellfire ordeal was ending immediately. The flames parted as a glowing figure knelt before Daesung, voice trembling. "My lord." The Fire King lowered his head. "Forgive me for not recognizing your voice earlier," he pleaded. Daesung replied with calm assurance. "It's fine. It's been a long time, Fire King." The sky brightened, flames fading as both figures stood facing one another amidst the quiet aftermath. The Fire King spoke gently. "You truly returned, without falling into Pandemonium's endless spiral of torment." Below them lay Pandemonium's fallen demon palace hall, the final abyss where countless tortured souls faced eternal despair. A black pit yawned open, its center a glowing red core surrounded by howling, damned figures. A system alert appeared. The sword absorbed residual demonic energy from the abyss, strengthening with every scream. The Fire King added, "After you vanished, I could only anchor my will with this weapon." Daesung asked quietly, "Do you resent me?" His grip on the sword remained firm and steady. The Fire King replied, "Not at all. We all knew our roles. I accepted that fate." He continued, "My only regret is what happened after you disappeared from this world." Daesung's eyes narrowed. "What happened?" he asked, sensing a deeper pain buried beneath the Fire King's tone. A mysterious enemy descended from above. They struck swiftly, destroying balance while Pandemonium was left defenseless. The Fire King recalled how the enemy sealed time and space, locking down hell with divine restraints. Demons were banished to Pandemonium. He stood powerless, forced to watch their defeat from above. He could only watch as a white serpent swallowed him whole, erasing his presence completely. Inside the monster, he lost all form, no body, no power, only endless drifting in silence and void. But now he smiled faintly. "Thankfully, you returned, and freed me from that timeless prison." The Fire King hesitated, then asked, "Forgive me, but why have you truly returned to this place?" Daesung gripped the sword tightly. "I need your help. You'll know everything when the time's right." The Fire King bowed slightly. To be sought again by you, I consider it a great honor. Daesung pointed at a swirling mass. See that energy? Do you know what it might be? The Fire King answered, It matches the enemies from the surface. It's not strange, just all too familiar. The Fire King warned, My lord, I don't know what it is. Please be cautious. Daesung reached out, confident. The systems never betrayed me after finishing a mission, he said calmly. Clutching the glowing orb, he added, I'll act cautiously after I'm done collecting this thing. Energy pulsed through his fist as the system message appeared. You have gained access to Enter Zone 2. Daesung opened his palm, a seal glowing brightly. Looks like I've just unlocked a new zone. The system prompted him to exit Pantheon, but Daesung simply answered, No, without hesitation. He reflected, Normally I'd leave right away and return to the real world after clearing Pantheon. A new prompt appeared. This time, it offered the option to exit the region and return. There's still another item I need, something even more important than the Great Hellfire Sword, he thought. Meanwhile, in the real world, a massive screen displayed headlines. The Goblin Massacre video is trending. A co-worker leaned over and asked, Did you watch the video too, sir? Chanho nodded calmly. Inside, Chanho panicked. I can't let them know he's my friend. This is really awkward. Before the tension settled, a senior staff member stepped in, addressing firmly, Chanho, may I speak privately? Chanho straightened up, trying to sound neutral. Ah, sir, what is it? He asked without showing concern.